this is 1,000 mosquito eggs, and in just a couple days, they're going to hatch into 1,000 actual flying mosquitoes that I'm going to be doing the most interesting experiments with, like feeding them a pool of blood. Anyways, right now, the mosquito eggs we have are dormant, but all they need to hatch is a bit of water. The second a dry mosquito egg touches water, the embryos inside absorb it and basically come to life. And literally within only a few minutes of adding in the water, check out this area right here. A tiny little white speck started to poke out from the top of this single egg. Everyone, this is a mosquito larva, also known as a wiggler. And yeah, you can probably tell why they're called wigglers based on how much they wiggle, but over the next few days, this will eat food and literally evolve into a fully grown mosquito. It will actually be one of the craziest things you'll ever see. Oh, but yeah, I almost forgot. We don't just have one, we have 1,000 mosquitoes that we're gonna be raising. And only a minute later, another wiggler started to wiggle out, then another, and soon enough, this tank was starting to get overrun with our new pets. I have to be so careful in this video. Adult flying mosquitoes are insanely attracted to light. I mean, they'll just swarm light at night. But I was wondering if that instinct starts when they are babies. Well, to figure it out, I turned off all the lights in my garage and watched what they did. Pretty quickly, the larvae actually started to rise to the surface way more. If you remember, most of the larvae were spending most of their time together, sort of near the bottom of the tanks when the lights were on. But yeah, with the lights off, they all like to be on the surface, apparently. Okay, that's pretty interesting. But now what I want to do is take this super bright studio light and position it pointing right at the side of the enclosure. So that way we can turn it on. Oh. There we go. And we can see what they do. Yeah, let's see. And literally the second after turning on this light, like magic, the larvae started to migrate away from it. And they all started to gather up on the right side as far away from the light as possible. Wait, so these guys are moving away from the light. Huh, that's interesting. The fully grown mosquitoes, they'll completely swarm light. But when they're larvae, they will completely avoid it. So to confirm my theory, I turned off this light and moved it over to the right side. And immediately the larvae did exactly what I thought they would, and they went back to the left side. Since I could kind of control where they were, I thought it'd be funny to kind of just swap the lights on and off on each side and, you know, make them do some exercise. Listen, okay, I gotta train some strong, capable mosquitoes for when I put them up against a pile of blood. It's gonna be so interesting. Dang, that is actually so cool to watch how they do that. And apparently they do this because they don't want to get eaten by fish, of course, and if they're in the darkness, then it's obviously harder for the fishes to see them. But actually, very interestingly, while I was doing that last test, if I go and stir the floor around like that and zoom in, you can see there's tons of what almost looks like just dead mosquito larvae that is just drifting around in the water. Now, I got worried for a second. I thought something was going around killing all the mosquitoes, but don't worry, I actually figured out that these are not dead mosquito larvae. You see, what these are actually the old skin of our current larvae. You see, these guys apparently shed off their old skin 4 times before becoming a flying mosquito. Basically, just like how other animals will molt their skin off when it's time to grow bigger. So of course, not super special, but for when the larvae are this small, it works perfectly to crush up into tiny little pieces. And immediately after dropping in some of this crushed food, it sank down to the bottom for the larvae to start eating. Since the larvae were just born about an hour ago, they're still so unbelievably small that it's just so hard to see, but you can kind of make out the shape of its mouth if you look very closely right here. It's insane how there's a brain and actual life in something this tiny. Anyways, you can see they tried to eat most of this food, but it's still a bit big. So once it dissolves into the water, it'll become even easier for these guys to eat it. But things get fun quickly because these wigglers more than double in size every 24 hours. So I have a feeling if we come back tomorrow, these guys are going to be a lot bigger. Good morning, TerraGreeners. I just woke up. The mosquitoes are probably bigger now. I haven't really checked though. Let me look. Wait, I haven't even zoomed in yet. And wait, you can literally see. Oh my gosh. Yeah, if you can't tell by this footage, the larvae are so much bigger now. And when I turned on my camera to record them in detail, I was amazed by how much they grew literally overnight. The day before, this was the most zoomed in footage I could get of these guys. But now, the larvae almost filled up the entire frame, and look at how much more detailed they are. This black bulb at the bottom is their heads, and they're so big already, we can make out their mouth a lot easier, and we can even see their tiny little eyes. These guys are so cool, because you can literally see how their mouth works as a little boat motor, essentially, and they can just use it to slowly drift among the water surface. Sometimes they'll even curl up and start sucking up microscopic food particles from the surface. Okay, what I'm gonna do is go and move my lights back to the, the back of the enclosure, and basically, that's gonna cause all the larvae to go and swim to the front. And then I can just leave my camera running for like 24 hours, and surely I could capture at least one of these guys molting to get that shot for you guys. And so yeah, I recorded this for like 2 hours, and after thoroughly reviewing all of the footage, none of the larvae actually shed their skin, unfortunately. But obviously, I was not gonna give up. So I spent hours actively recording with my camera, watching every single larvae at the water surface. Apparently, they only molt out their skin when they're hanging upside down from the top, and after about 2 hours, I found this larva. You can tell he was about to molt by the fact that he was hanging upside down for a pretty long time without moving, and every now and then, he would try and twitch to squeeze out of his old skin. If you look very closely right here, you can see his old skin starting to slide up and off, and this white part right here is his new skin underneath. But after watching this guy for like another hour, all of a sudden, he just started to float down, and he fell all the way to the floor and completely stopped moving. Yeah, apparently the molting process is actually really grueling for mosquitoes, and there's a chance that they can use all their energy while doing it and die, which I guess just happened to this guy. Rest in peace, bro. But of course, this was not gonna stop me because I kept recording for longer and longer until I eventually caught this footage. Keep in mind, this is literally the first footage on the internet of a mosquito larvae molting because of how hard it is to catch, so you can't complain about how trash this footage quality is. But anyways, you can see it started to shake violently, and it started to slide out of its old skin. This dark part is his new skin, and eventually he was able to fully slide out, and only his molt was left behind. It's so cool to watch this happen, and after it does, the new larvae swims away and leaves the old skin behind, which that skin will probably get eaten by another larvae very soon for some protein. Let's go. I'm so happy we just got to see that. But in fact, I just spent so long trying to get that shot that almost all of our larvae now are pretty much fully grown, meaning yes, we're about to have 1,000 mosquitoes hatching in just a matter of days. Now thankfully, I had this big tank sitting in my garage, which would actually be a perfect fit to put over our current tank, so when the mosquitoes hatch, they won't be able to just fly away. But obviously, there's a big opening on the bottom, which would be bad if we had to move this. All the mosquitoes would get out. So what I did was put our current tank in here while the big one was sideways. And then I got this piece of clear acrylic that I'm gonna be able to attach to the front. And when I attach this piece of acrylic, it's gonna make sure no mosquitoes can get out. But you're probably wondering why I got all these massive holes right here. Well, what I'm gonna do is this. And as you can see, I just put mesh in each of the corners so, you know, air can get in. But I left this hole open in the middle so I can put a little door here so we'll be able to put stuff in, but mosquitoes won't be able to get out. It's pretty simple to make though, because all we gotta do is attach this little sleeve contraption I made and put a clamp on the end. Basically how it works is if you want to put your arm inside, you go ahead and take off the safety clamp like that. And basically what you do is while you're holding it still, you gotta carefully stretch your arm inside, and then boom, when it's around your arm, it's very airtight and you can go ahead and put your arm inside. And you see I have access to here, and the mosquitoes won't be able to get out, and it's very easy to go and take my arm out, keep it shut, and then I can go and put the clamp back on. And after I had my dad silicone the acrylic on, boom, this containment system is done. But guys, there's actually something I didn't tell you about these mosquitoes. In their life cycles, there's a whole nother stage of life before becoming mosquitoes that lasts about a day. And when I came back the next day to my tank, I noticed they were already entering it. Oh my gosh, guys, look at what I just saw. Take a look at the larvae in here. You see these little circular things swimming around next to the actual larvae? Those are the pupae, and that means they're about to hatch. You see, these pupae are also called tumblers because, well, they tumble down when they sense potential danger nearby. But the coolest thing is how these guys look. They got these weird, scary looking eyes. They got little horns that act as snorkels for oxygen. And of course, they look way different from a larva with that cool shrimp-shaped body. And if you're wondering how it looks when a larva turns into a pupae, well, this awesome footage from Backyard Bugs shows it. Basically, the skin splits at the thorax area, and very similarly to how the larvae molt, the new pupae will slide out, and yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yes, sir, these guys are so cool, but we haven't even got to see the coolest part. I actually have a jar of blood from a cow. Oh my gosh. Now, in order to make this have a chance to work, I had to fill up this little container with a bunch of blood, and then I put some saran wrap on top. This way, the mosquitoes could stick their little mouthpiece through it and get filled up with blood if they're hungry. Finally, I just warmed it up in the microwave so it would recreate the temperature that mosquitoes like, and I put it inside the tank. Let's see what these mosquitoes do. Now, for the first like 20 minutes, pretty much none of the 100 mosquitoes were interested. They were kind of just hiding around and not moving much, so I kept trying tons of new stuff, like dimming the lights, because apparently mosquitoes don't like to eat under the bright light. And after trying so much stuff and recording for hours, not a singular mosquito tried to eat this blood. And this cool footage, you can see mosquitoes literally only take a couple couple of seconds to land on an arm and get completely filled up with blood. But for some reason, they only like to drink blood from arms and not just liquid blood, apparently, like we have here. Literally all the mosquitoes had gathered up on the other side of the enclosure to avoid it. Yeah, I literally just tried to record this for 2 days. None of the mosquitoes were interested. I don't think that shot's gonna be too hard to get because we're on like day 8 and check what has just started to hatch. Yep, that is a mosquito, meaning there's like 3 mosquitoes in here right now. So it shouldn't be long till we have much more. You see the pupae get darker and darker as they get closer to turning into a mosquito. So since this pupae is bright white, I know he won't be hatching anytime soon, but these pupae here are extremely dark, meaning the mosquito is right under that skin, ready to crawl out. So to make the shot even easier to get, I'm gonna suck all the darkest pupae up into this little pipette and put them in this container to make it easier to record. Now, since the mosquitoes have already started to hatch, I actually had to use the door I made to get my hand inside so they wouldn't escape, and I used my little pipette to start sucking up as many of the dark pupae as I could. Then I put them into a temporary container and I started to film. Thankfully, the pupae hatched within only a few hours of turning black, so it was literally only about an hour of recording till I caught this on camera. Out of nowhere, this pupa here started to straighten out its tail. This makes a little tunnel here for the head of the mosquito to start squeezing out. It's so nasty, but you can see how this area here just keeps inflating. The mosquito is literally being born in front of our eyes, and you can see how it's leaving the clear pupa skin behind. All of a sudden, his little mouth pops out here that they use to suck blood, and soon after, you can see his wings popped out as well. Oh my gosh, guys, this is insane. Wait, this is happening right now. Finally, the legs stop sticking to the body, and bada bing, bada boom, that's how a mosquito is born. They'll basically stand here for like half an hour while they wait for their body and wings to harden up. Unfortunately, I am not allowed to just let this guy fly out. Yeah, when you hatch mosquitoes in your house, it is just illegal to let them escape. So I'm gonna try and move them into this tank, but if I can't do it, I do have this here. But thankfully, I didn't have to use that since it was super easy to just grab it with tweezers and let it loose in the containment system. W mosquitoes, bro. That was one of the coolest things I have seen. Well, guys, it's been another few days, and I'm proud to say we have 100+ mosquitoes now. I mean, we got tons just flying around. We got even more just sitting all over the glass. And that's not even to mention all the mosquitoes just hiding around. Now, I can test these guys with my last 2 mosquito experiments, starting with sticking my hand inside of the tank of mosquitoes. But in addition to my hand going in there, I've also got a couple kinds of mosquito repellent. So we can test if these things actually work. I am definitely about to get bit. So I started to apply the first mosquito repellent to my arm by spraying it. You see, mosquitoes are insanely attracted to the scent and heat of human skin, but somehow the spray stuff completely blocks all of those and messes with the mosquito senses. Theoretically, when I stick my hand in there, I shouldn't get bit. Well, I guess let's just do this. And as I stuck my hand in, I got very nervous. I hate mosquito bites. They're flying very close, but yeah, I don't think they can even sense that this is a hand right now. Yeah, I literally left my hand in there another 30 seconds, and not a single mosquito even landed on it. When normally, they would definitely be swarming it. Dang, this stuff works good. If you need some mosquito repellent, I recommend this brand. It's not sponsored or anything, but it's pretty good. But now the second mosquito repellent I want to test. Well, you see this app right here? This app claims to literally make a sound that will repel mosquitoes. Oh, do you hear that? It's like a high-pitched buzz. Okay, well, let's see if this works. Now, I've heard these apps are myths, but as I put my hand inside, the mosquitoes weren't instantly swarming it. In fact, they were acting kind of similar to earlier when I was testing the spray stuff, even though I had thoroughly washed it all off my hand. Maybe these apps actually do work. That was until I found this when I took my hand out. Okay, for a second, I thought this app actually worked. Now, let me turn off this ear-piercing sound. But then I realized I actually got bit like right there. I can definitely feel it. It's starting to itch and stuff. Don't use these apps, guys. I can assure you they are fake. If a black widow walked into a Venus flytrap, what would happen? Would the trap close on top of the spider and eat it whole? Or would the black widow be able to use its venom to squeeze its way out? Well, I'm going to be testing just that, along with tons of other insect types to see how strong Venus flytraps really are. I think I'm going to buy both of these trap bundles. Then I'll be able to test the cheap and expensive traps to see which will be more effective at catching insects. But hey, I guess let me just check them out. And thankfully, only a couple days later, I got the traps delivered in the mail. After taking them out, I separated them into cheap and expensive. You can see the cheap Venus flytraps actually gave me quite a lot for just $10. And the traps themselves did look pretty healthy, big, and had that signature green and red color. Nice. However, over on the expensive side, you can see these are a bit different. They're not even packaged at all, and they look way more nasty natural with moss all around the dirt. However, the main difference in these ones is that they're basically fully red. Like, they literally look like an apple. I've never seen Venus flytraps like that. But other than that, these traps mostly look the same, and hopefully at least one of them will be able to I put 30 minutes on the clock. Let's see what happens. Now, for the first little while, the cricket spent most of its time just walking on the dirt along the side of the glass to, of course, try and find an escape. Because let's be real, every cricket that sees me on this channel knows it's about to get eaten. He did not want to be in here. But after 5 minutes, he made his first approach to the traps. And one thing I should probably say is that the crickets are way more attracted to nectar, as it's a primary part in their diet. And that was shown because soon after, the cricket started to climb on the outside of the jaws of this trap. And right after that, I actually realized the cricket had stepped inside one of the traps, and it sort of looked like it was drinking nectar. But hello, Venus flytrap, there's a cricket standing inside of you right now. Are you gonna close? Yeah, the cricket really just stood there for 30 seconds, and when it was finished drinking the nectar, it started to walk out, and then finally the trap closed. Good job, bro. You were only a minute late at closing. I guess the cricket must have just not hit a trigger hair inside until the very end, which is why that happened. Anyways, nothing really new happened up until 15 minutes left on the clock, when I decided I wanted to add in 3 more crickets to make this more interesting. And while these guys all ran around the enclosure, I closely watched them to see if any would step inside any of the traps. And at 5 minutes left, this happened. You see, this cricket started to walk up the stem of this trap. Then he walked inside, realized it was a dead end, and tried to turn around. But it was too late because the trap closed on him, leaving him half stuck inside. So I literally just got some time-lapse footage of this guy to see if he'd be able to escape. And actually, while I was recording that, another cricket below also stepped into one of the traps. And he also got half of his body stuck inside. Thankfully, this cricket was able to use some of the stuff around him to pry himself out of the trap. However, I don't know if this guy will be able to do the same, since he's in the air and has nothing to grab onto. So, I guess I'll just leave you here. Sorry, boy. Good luck. But anyways, that concludes the timer, and I would call this a half success for the cheap plants this time. But oh boy, am I excited to do this with the expensive traps. I didn't want to waste any time, so I put in 1 cricket. And this time, the cricket instantly walked towards the traps, like within a couple seconds. And he started to just play with his life, because he would just be walking through the plants like this, narrowly escaping the insane speed of these expensive Venus flytraps. Now, only a few minutes later, the cricket once again walked into a Venus flytrap. This time, he managed to dodge all the trigger hairs, and he put his mouth up to the lip of the plant to drink some nectar. But yeah, the second he started moving again, he wasn't so lucky, because the trap got an absolutely perfect close on him. And well, it only took 7 minutes for the expensive traps to fully capture a cricket. So once again, I'm gonna have to give the win to expensive. And I think I'm gonna rate that a 6 out of 10 for entertainment, because way more traps closed, which was fun to watch. But $10 traps first. Without wasting any time, I just put in a single fly and put 30 minutes on the clock. And if it gets caught before the timer's up, I'll add in some more flies. But instantly, as you can see, the fly started to climb along the glass to try and escape. Thankfully though, I've sealed this enclosure shut, and once the fly realized that, he ended up going back down to the floor. Now this is where things get interesting, because the fly landed on one of the pots with all of the Venus flytrap plants. What makes Venus flytraps so effective is actually their nectar. Just like normal flowers, these traps also produce nectar around this little green lip part of the plant. And basically what it's designed to do is lure hungry insects in, and while they're eating the plant, of course, it's shut. But I guess because these plants are so cheap, they didn't have very much of that nectar, because after standing around for like a minute, the fly just flew away without even stepping in any of the jaws. And from there on out, the fly basically drained the 30-minute timer down all the way to 3 minutes by just standing on the glass. However, eventually he decided to explore near the cheap Venus flytraps once again. And this time he got a little bit too close, because he stepped onto one of the traps and it could literally close on him right now. But the trap took a second too long, and the fly was able to fly out once it sensed the movement. You see, Venus flytraps have a very interesting system for how they detect prey and activate their jaws, which I'll go more in depth with when the trap actually traps an insect. For now, the fly just sort of walked around on the dirt for the rest of the timer, and well, the cheap trap was a fail. Thankfully, over on the right, we got the expensive one though, worth 10 times more, and this should have a much better result. So I put in a new fly, and let's get the timer started to see how quickly this guy gets caught. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this fly was a bit crazier than that first one, because for the first 3 minutes, he literally just flew around the entire enclosure like he was insane, just hitting all the glass trying to escape. But after he tired himself out, it was time for the Venus flytraps to do their thing. Instantly, you can tell the fly was way more drawn to the traps, as these expensive ones have a much stronger, more smelly nectar. And that was proven because right after, the fly walked in one of the traps. But quickly, it walked out right as the trap closed. Yeah, you can see in this instant replay, the trap may have missed the fly, but comparing the cheap and expensive traps, the expensive one closes way faster. And only a minute later, the fly was still chilling near the traps, and this time the nectar caught him off guard, because he walked onto the trap and put put his face straight up to the lip of the plant where it was. And well, yeah, the video is paused right now, but you could probably tell what's about to happen. Just like that, the trap got a perfect close on the fly. You see, every single Venus flytrap has these super tiny trigger hairs inside of the jaws. And when a bug or something touches more than 2 of them, the trap starts to close. And these expensive ones are able to close so quickly that they catch most of prey that steps inside. You can see slight bits of movement inside over the next 20 minutes, but over the next few days, the trap is going to release a type of acid on the fly to digest it down and grow even stronger. Well, it only took 5 minutes for that to trap the fly, and the cheap one didn't catch any.
Started laying around. I'm pretty scared of black widows.
Anyways, I went and put one of the black widows inside the cheap trap enclosure and got 30 minutes on the clock. This is about to get interesting. Let's see what happens. Right away, the black widow made her way towards the traps. Now, black widows are a lot slower than crickets and flies, so if this spider steps inside a trap, there's a high likelihood of it getting caught. And while nothing really happened for the first couple of minutes, eventually the spider started to walk along the tops of some of the traps. You can see black widows are very meticulous with their movement, and it would very carefully place its legs above the trap, making sure not to step inside. But even with that, the spider was playing a dangerous game, because all it needed was one bad step. Anyways, about 15 minutes later, I noticed that the spider had actually started to spin a little bit of silk, and maybe it was planning on building its web here. But unfortunately, she would never get the chance to finish, because she took a wrong turn into the Venus flytrap, and well, it closed straight on her. Almost perfectly. However, there was still some legs sticking out. To be honest, it didn't look good for the black widow, and besides a few leg twitches, it looked like the spider had just lost to the Venus flytrap. And if you thought that was cool, well, you gotta see the expensive Venus flytraps, because right after putting the black widow in, he instantly walked up to a Venus flytrap. And literally within the first 30 seconds of the timer, he stepped inside one of the traps, ducked down a little bit too much, and the trap closed on him within an instant. In my opinion, this one was even cooler to watch. And yeah, his legs were also just stuck sticking out of the sides of the trap. And well, hopefully that answers the question. Venus flytraps do beat black widows. This is 1,000 termites, and in this video, I'll be testing everything interesting about termites, even putting them against a mini wood house to see if they'll eat straight through it. Yeah, I got the house right here, so let me and boom, just like that, the house teleports inside. There's totally no editing involved in that. That was just magic. Now, I first drilled a hole into the top of this house that I'd eventually be able to record through. Then I also added a bit of dirt around and inside of the house, so the termites would want to stay here. And finally, termites need constant moisture to survive, so I'm just gonna absolutely drench this house with my spray bottle. Hopefully, this will make it easier to chew through.
All right, termites, I hope you're still hungry. Yeah, I guess let me just try and take this sheet of termites and just start dumping them in the house. And then there's still tons in here, so I'm just gonna go and dump them inside and kind of just all around the house. Let's get this thing absolutely destroyed. Well, hopefully. I don't actually know if they're gonna eat it, but that's the plan.
Now, it's pretty cool to see the sheer amount of termites just swarming every single inch of this house. And you could even see them inside a little bit, but I couldn't see that much since it was kind of dark. So I, of course, set up the time-lapse camera and recorded for many hours. And you can see there was tons of termites that were just walking around the perimeter of the tank investigating what was going on, while others were still swarming around the dirt of the house and also climbing all up inside the hole that I drilled on the top of the roof. But there was no destruction really visible just yet.
Okay, it's been about 24 hours and it almost seems like the termites are doing nothing to this house. But you see, the thing that makes termites so deadly to houses is the fact that they completely work out of sight. So let's do a little more investigating on this thing.
So I pointed my super bright studio light through that hole I put in the top, and you could see the termites were in here, but yeah, it was still not super visible inside of here. So I went and pointed the camera through that hole in the roof, and I was even more amazed by the amount of termites all huddling around the wooden walls. You can even see how some of them would rapidly shake their heads. Apparently they do this to signal to the rest of the colony that danger's nearby, but yeah, you can see the walls were starting to look like they were maybe getting a little bit destroyed so far.
Yo, the termites are absolutely swarming inside of there.
Hold on, wait, I wonder if they're under. Oh my gosh. That's more than I was expecting. Oh my gosh, there's even more on the underside of that. Yeah, tons were gathering right here, as you can see. I wasn't really sure if these ones were actually eating the wood or if they were here for just cover. Either way, I kept recording my time-lapse camera, and while nothing really interesting happened on the outside, as you could probably guess, when I moved the time-lapse camera inside to start to record, you could see how there was so much more action and how they were climbing all over this wall. Surely they were eating it, but if you didn't know, termites are some of the slowest eaters mosquitoes in the animal kingdom. And even with over 1,000, this 10-hour time lapse, you can't really see a whole lot of damage being made, but you can see some of these termites were making this cool little mud ball out of dirt, saliva, and wood that they spit out. They sometimes will make these little balls in their nest to keep moisture, since, as I said earlier, they need moisture to survive. Yeah, at this pace, it would take months for the termites to start making noticeable progress through the wood.
Termites, I'm going to be testing your intelligence, and if you actually make it to the end of the maze, I'll reward you with the house.
To make this termite maze, I got out an empty fish tank and I started to cut these lines of plastic to make the shape of a maze. After going and gluing them down, I completely filled the floor up with another thin layer of dirt. If you remember, the termites dug through that first nest I made for them in a cool pattern, so I'm wondering if they're gonna do the same here and if they're gonna take any wrong turns that lead them to a dead end.
Alright, then let me go and just put this perfectly sized piece of glass here, and then let me put a piece of bark and cardboard at the end so they'll actually have a goal to get to. Well, let me gather up these termites and I'll move them in here.
And yeah, it was actually quite a bit harder than I thought to move these termites out because how incredibly small they are. So I sort of just resorted to digging up all the dirt I could that the termites were hiding under. I even found that worm that I'd placed in earlier, which is still just living peacefully inside. But yeah, eventually I got all the termites into this little container with dirt.
Alright, now I just gotta dump these in here so they can start the maze. Also, what's kind of cool is if you look at the underside of this, all the termites have just started to gather there. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, anyways, I went and started to scoop the dirt into the maze enclosure pretty carefully in order to not hurt the termites. You can see this whole pile of dirt was just absolutely overflowing with tons of termites. But basically, you remember how the termites were just gathering on the bottom of the little container they were just in? The plan here is they're gonna do the same thing and they'll slowly make their way into the maze. Hopefully. Yeah, I don't actually know if this is gonna work. But I set up my time-lapse camera and waited to see what would happen. After not too long, this termite was the first to enter the maze, but somehow he decided to crawl into the walls of the maze, and he sort of started to break through to the other side of the wall. Now, thankfully, this was a dead end, so when the rest of the colony decided to follow this cheating termite, they didn't finish too easily. Over the next few hours, you can really see how the termites learned to follow each other because so many of them ended up at this little tunnel at the top left area, but it was only a matter of time until more of the colony started to go down into the maze, and over the next day, they started to travel closer and closer to the wood end goal. I mean, they still kind of were cheating, but eventually one termite did actually make it to the wood. And yeah, I guess just like that, they had completed the maze. Good job, termites.
Well, by a predator, I mean I've got this tiny little earthworm that, to be honest, who knows? When it digs under with the termites, what's gonna happen? I mean, they could swarm it, they could just completely evacuate the place, I don't know.
So the only way to find out was to put this little worm inside. Now, almost instantly, it squeezed under the glass floor and started to dig in the dirt as it got closer to the termites. Now, I'm pretty sure termites only eat stuff like wood, so honestly, I didn't even think much would happen, but as the worm got nearer, some of the termites started to approach the worm with the little tunnels they had dug out and didn't initially attack it. In fact, they sort of just ignored that it was even there, just walking from one side of it to the other, acting like it was just some sort of bridge. But then, all of a sudden, I noticed tons more of the termites starting to gather around the backside of the worm, almost like they were gonna start attacking it. Even some of these bigger termites marched in called soldiers that specifically have these massive mandibles meant to defend the termite nest. But as I kept watching, surprisingly the swarm didn't attack and, well, they kind of just let the worm dig around their nest.
Dang, this is so interesting. How the termites are just fine living with a literal worm in their nest. Yeah, they're just not attacking it at all.
Even more interestingly, as I left my time-lapse camera recording, the worm really just learned to coexist with the 1,000 termites. Yeah, I mean, this honestly makes sense. This species of termites literally only eats wood, so there's no reason for them to waste their energy attacking a harmless worm.
Dang, that's cool. Well, I'm guessing you guys are hungry.
I don't only have this nice natural piece of bark from a tree, I also have this piece of cardboard. So that way I can test both of these materials to see which is the best food source to feed these guys in the future. And after sliding both of the food sources under the sheet of acrylic, the termites had access to them. And honestly, it didn't take long till some of the termites started to investigate it. Since putting the termites in this nest, they've had like a day with no wood, so I knew for sure they would be hungry. Now, interestingly, there was almost like no termites going up to the actual piece of wood, but there was quite a few checking out the piece of cardboard, even walking inside the tiny holes on the side of it. You see, termites like this species actually have more than 100,000 microscopic little alive creatures inside their bodies. They're called flagellates, and basically they live inside termite bodies, and as the termite chews wood, these flagellates help to digest the wood and break it up into actual nutrients somehow. But yeah, it's just insane knowing each termite body is basically just a massive house to so many many of these unseeable creatures. Now, even though some of the termites were walking inside the cardboard, it didn't actually seem like they were eating either of these food sources yet. Well, that was until this, because I kept my time-lapse camera recording, totally just expecting the termites not to move towards the wood. You can see most of the termites were actually staying near the bottom, away from the wood. But as I kept recording for another half an hour, eventually a couple termites started to walk on top of the piece of bark. And they looked pretty excited, because soon after, a few more termites started to walk onto it. I guess they didn't realize this was food earlier, but since they had now found out, these initial termites that had walked on here started to release a type of special pheromone in the air that signals there was food here. And because the whole colony could sense the pheromones, it literally only took about 5 more minutes until this piece of wood started to get absolutely swarmed. Yeah, it happened so fast, and soon enough, the entire piece of bark was covered from top to bottom in termites. But interestingly, it seemed like this piece of cardboard wasn't getting nearly as much attention from the termites anymore.
Yo, check out this wood. It's getting absolutely swarmed right now. And it may look like the cardboard's not getting eaten, but if you actually look very closely in there, oh yeah, this thing's getting eaten up too.
Yup, that's right, because when I pointed my camera directly to the side of this cardboard, you could tell it was overflowing with termites. It looked like they were just crawling all up inside of it, and when I got some tweezers to peel back the piece of cardboard, well, you could see just how many there actually was inside, which kind of all immediately evacuated once they realized I was peeling this apart, so sorry guys.
Oh my gosh, it's only been an hour and these termites are decimating the wood. Imagine what they're gonna do to the mini wood house when I leave it in there for a week.
And after shaking off all the termites I could, you could see this piece of wood looked quite a bit different, and it looked like it may have even been hollowed out.
Because termites seriously build some of the craziest homes in the animal kingdom. And they build them quickly. Let me show you by dumping these guys in.
Now, instantly after dumping in the termites, you can see just how many there actually was here, just absolutely swarming in this single area. But you could quickly see how multiple started to gather up in this back area near the exposed dirt. You see, I've set up this container to have a thin layer of soil pressed up against this glass floor. And this gap here lets termites squeeze underneath to start digging, meaning we're gonna get to see them dig their intricate tunnels from above. It's a slow process that only works because of the sheer amount of termites, because while a single termite is super small, there are over 1,000 termites right here, meaning work gets done pretty quickly. And over the next 3 hours, the bulk of the termites migrated across the entire floor in this super cool pattern. Dang, that is insane to watch on a time lapse.
Oh my gosh, these termites completely dug this entire area out so much faster than how long it usually takes for my ants to do it.
This is a $100,000 real pet shark tank. You literally have to feed them chunks of meat, and I'm gonna show you how people care for pets like this, along with tons of other prices of aquatic, what it's like to have a literal pet shark.
Yes, sir. Now, I could go buy some sort of small baby shark species online and build a small little tank, but that would be boring. I want to see a big, fierce shark.
So I hopped on a plane and flew across the country to this very fish store called Aquatics and Exotics. When I walked inside, I was immediately greeted by some absolutely insane tanks. This one had massive freshwater stingrays. This one had a super cool pig-nosed turtle that had a nose that looks like a pig. But right here at the back of the store is where the insanely massive tank that is filled to the brim with sharks is located. Yo, these sharks are crazy. Yup, this tank has 17,000 gallons of water because it contains not only this nurse shark, which like to spend most of their time chilling at the bottom of the tank, but also these two super fierce black tip reef sharks, which are known to be some of the most aggressive sharks in the world. And the craziest thing is how you feed them when they're your pets. So I got introduced to a store employee named Sky, so I could show you just that. You are kind of the one in charge of taking care of all these sharks, right?
Yep, 2 black tips and a nurse shark in here.
Dang, that is so cool. I'm on the mission to kind of find the craziest pet you can keep. Would you say keeping sharks is kind of crazy? Like, is that kind of cool?
It's definitely one up there. Not many people can say they have real sharks in their house.
For sure. But why do you have to have a tank that is so massive for these sharks?
Specifically for the black tips, they are a shark that in the wild requires to be in constant motion to get oxygen through their gills.
Yep, the black tip reef sharks in specific literally need to constantly be moving in order to get water and therefore oxygen flowing through their gills. So are these black tip sharks fully grown?
No, they're still actually young males. meals.
Wow, so they're gonna get a lot bigger than this?
Quite, at least twice
Oh my
the
gosh.
size.
Nah, these sharks are still gonna get twice as big. I can't even imagine what they're gonna eat when they get bigger.
So I'd say I wanna see these guys eat. Can we feed these guys some food?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to see what I'm feeding them today?
Yes, let's do
We
that.
go grab it.
So Sky brought out an absolute buffet.
All right, so what are we gonna be feeding these sharks today?
So that is the light feeding. That's about 2 pounds of shrimp right there.
This is a light feeding. This is like, I couldn't even eat this all if I wanted to. Let's just get this in the tank.
Absolutely. Ready?
Yes.
I even turned on my GoPro and gave it to Sky as she went behind the scenes to feed the sharks all these shrimp. You can see how she started by splashing her hand in the water to alert the sharks that it was feeding time. And then she started to stick my GoPro under the water, which surprisingly, the aggressive black tip sharks instantly found interesting because they kept swimming straight up to it almost like they wanted to swallow it.
Yo, they're trying to eat my GoPro.
But eventually it was feeding time, so Sky started to toss massive handfuls of the shrimp into the tank, which if you couldn't guess, the sharks instantly picked up the scent and they absolutely started to annihilate these shrimp.
Yo, this guy's about to gulp that shrimp up. Oh my gosh. Yo, look at all these shrimp in front of me. Oh, these sharks are just going crazy for them.
But it wasn't only cool to see how the black tips move around to eat the shrimp, because Sky also showed the GoPro how she trained the nurse shark to come to the surface so she could drop pieces of shrimp in so that guy could eat as well. Dang, that is so cool to watch.
Well, Sky, that was probably the coolest feeding of an aquatic pet I've ever seen. This is honestly one of the coolest pets I've ever seen.
Thank you.
Yep, we've got a $1,000 saltwater coral tank.
Yup, if you didn't know, coral saltwater tanks are some of the most exotic tanks you can get. But the thing is, they get extremely expensive extremely fast. That's why instead, I'm gonna buy this already set up coral tank for $200, and then I can use the rest of the budget to fill it up with way more crazy corals. And dang, look at this video the seller sent me. It already has so much fish and stuff in it. Let's go see if this is legit.
So yeah, I drove out to the cellar and got the tank into my car, although there was definitely something off about it.
As you can see, it's quite a bit dirty, a lot dirtier than it was listed on Facebook.
And I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be fish inside, but I'm not seeing anything. We gotta get this home ASAP.
So I quickly drove home and got it out at my house.
All right, guys, I just got this back to my setup, and look at this. There's actually a fish inside. Yo, there's a clownfish. Do you see that? Yeah, I guess you can't really see it because it's so dirty. But yeah, let me set up all this stuff.
So yeah, I first added in the extra water I had taken out to transport it. Then I put in the heater, a wave maker, a water filter, and of course the lights. And then I let it sit for a couple hours to clear up. And oh my gosh, the whole tank came alive very quickly. You could see the clownfish swimming around next to the anemone, the little shrimp constantly moving around everywhere, and there was even a literal sea urchin. I had no clue this was all going to be included in the tank.
But this place would look way crazier if it had tons of rare glowing corals and stuff. So yeah, we definitely got to go buy some of those.
So I drove back out to the aquarium store where I'd bought those plants from earlier and found out they also had a massive coral section.
Yo, this is sick how some of these corals glow. And look, that clownfish is checking that coral out. But also, bro, $400 for a single piece of coral, that's kind of crazy.
If you didn't know, corals literally have thousands of tiny little animals called polyps that live inside of them. And in order to see them come out, I bought this big bag of coral and brought it home.
Now, corals can be extremely delicate, so it's a good thing we already got this set up tank, otherwise our corals would probably die. But because this is set up, it's as simple as just dumping the water from the bags out and putting all the corals I bought inside.
Then over the next hour, I slowly added water from our current tank into this temporary tray. Yeah, a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it because I started to add these corals around the tank in the places I thought would look best, and I left my camera recording so we could see them come alive. The first one I noticed movement from was this top one that we could see the little tentacles of the polyp animals on here starting to come out. And this green one also started to liven up pretty fast as well. The polyps on these corals use all these little tentacle things to eat up food, which I'll show very soon.
Yo, look at these corals. They're looking sick. The only ones that haven't popped out are these two at the bottom. So I guess I'll just leave them be. And in the meantime, let's feed this tank so we can figure out how alive everything in here actually is.
The fish in tanks like this love stuff called brine shrimp. Basically, you pop one of these frozen cubes in a cup of water, and they completely start to thaw out into tons of tiny shrimp that you could put into the tank. Instantly, you could see how all the fish in here, like this blue damselfish, started to gulp up the food. The clownfish was also eating some of it while sticking near this anemone that had come with the tank when I bought it. If you don't know what an anemone is, well, it's actually an animal, and they have thousands of microscopic needles on their tentacles to sting and stay safe from fish. And also, they're able to move around through tanks on their own somehow. But for some reason, clownfish evolved to be immune to the stinging, so they just constantly stay near anemones so no other animals will disturb them. But interestingly, there's also these coral shrimp in here that'll eat the brine shrimp with their tiny little claws, and there's other animals which you don't need to feed, like these cool sea snails which go along the glass eating algae, and these sea urchins which do the same. Pretty cool.
Finally, we can't forget to feed the corals with this stuff, and it's pretty cool to watch. Let me show you.
Yeah, you can kind of just use this thing as a spray bottle under the water to shoot food at the corals. You can see how the little tentacles of the polyps react to the tasty food and close up a bit. The green one was especially cool to watch, along with this smaller green one where you could really see the little tentacle arms grabbing the food and closing it up to consume it. Dang, the ocean is actually so cool.
All right, I just got this set up in my kitchen, and stuff like the anemone is still opening up. But honestly, for $1,000, it's so cool seeing all the different life in here. I'm gonna rate this thing an 8 out of 10. But you may be thinking, how does a bag of shrimp cost $100? Well, I don't just have one bag or 2 bags. I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bags of shrimp, and we're gonna be able to do some crazy time lapses since we have so many shrimp here.
Yeah, apparently keeping an insane amount of shrimp in the same tank is something lots of people into aquariums do because shrimp are some of the best cleaners of all time. And they'll just constantly explore around the tank, eating any dirt or algae that would make the water dirty. These ones in specific are called cherry shrimp because they have a red color in their body like a cherry. Yup, it's a pretty creative name if you ask me.
Now, before we get out a piece of steak to feed to these guys and record on a time lapse, let's work our way up the food scale and start with the shrimp pellets, which I bought these thinking they were shrimp food, but on here it says they're actually for fish. So I'm thinking maybe these are just made out of shrimp. They're not actually for shrimp, but I guess we can still try and see if they'll eat it. Let's just start by dropping in one of the pellets.
Now, immediately after dropping this single shrimp pellet in, one of the nearby shrimp basically pounced onto it. Dang, I guess these shrimp like eating shrimp because soon after, another one also came straight onto it. You can kind of see in the zoomed in footage how they use their tiny little mouths to break up this little pellet and eat it. But yeah, over the next couple minutes, this single pellet started to get swarmed by every single shrimp that saw it. Yeah, started to get pretty crowded, but that's what is so cool about having so many shrimp. They just absolutely decimate any piece of food you give them.
Anyways, to feed the shrimp bigger food sources, I've got a way bigger tank. So I think I'm gonna go get some supplies so we can build these guys a nice little home real quick.
So I drove to the store to start shopping. Since we got so many shrimp, I really wanted to spend a ton of time to choose the best decorations for these guys so they could have a beautiful home. And of course, that also meant I had to get some plants.
Okay, as you guys know, I usually get my aquatic plants here at Petco, but today I want to try something different because, oh my gosh, these gotta be getting more expensive. $12 for this, it's literally dead.
So instead, I drove across the town to an aquarium store I had never been to. They of course had tons of cool stuff like this arowana, frogs, and even this massive pleco. But of course, they also had exactly what I was looking for.
Ooh, yeah, this is actually perfect. And it's actually a good deal. I mean, $8 for that big plant in the back.
So yeah, I asked the store employees to bag me up some, and I brought all my supplies home. Since the tank isn't insanely large, it was quite easy to start laying everything down. We start with the aqua soil, which gives the nutrients to the plants, and we cover it in a layer of sand so it won't make the water dirty. Finally, I added around some of the decorations I bought to make this place stand out a bit.
Favorite decoration I bought was a pineapple from SpongeBob, but I unfortunately dropped it as I was getting it out my car, so yeah, it's kind of just in a bunch of pieces now. But I think I can still fit that in there, just like that. I mean, yeah, it looks pretty cool. SpongeBob, it's under the water, makes sense.
Then I added in all those plants I had just bought and filled the thing with water.
All right, there we go. And technically, this water filter at the back isn't needed since the shrimps kind of clean the water themselves, but it's still recommended, which is why I have it. But oh, we do got to get this bad boy inside. It's a light up air stone, which if you don't know what an air stone is, it's this amazing contraption that makes bubbles in the water. And this one one lights up, so it's extra special. Oh man, that's actually fire. I'm gonna have to get more of these, I'm not gonna lie.
Anyways, this tank is now finished and ready for all of our little shrimps to go inside. Immediately, you can just see how there is constant movement going on because of the sheer amount of shrimp. Every single little location in this tank had its own little shrimp life being lived.
Now you'll see I left this little open area right here. Well, that's for us to test our next 3 food sources, and our next food source is a carrot. But yeah, they're not just gonna eat a raw carrot. It's too hard for their mouths. They can't chew it up. Instead, we gotta soften up the carrot in some boiling water, just like this. And yeah, just let it cook for a couple minutes. And when the carrots are done cooking, we can bring them back to the shrimp.
So I cut off a piece and plopped it straight into the tank. Now this time it was completely different than that shrimp pellet because while a couple of the shrimp sort of checked out the carrot a little bit, ultimately none of them really stayed for long enough to eat it. Come on guys, do you not like vegetables or something?
Oh well, I guess they don't like carrots. But before we try the steak, I want to try one more vegetable. Let's do spinach.
Now with this, I also had to boil it quickly and then I put it in the water as well. And yeah guys, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of disappointed by the spinach too, because even though this is so nutritious and Google said the shrimp would eat it, well, they never ate it at all.
Bro, come on, I'm just convinced shrimp don't like eating vegetables at all. Yeah, let's get this trash out of here. And let's move on to our final food source, a entire steak. Well, I shouldn't say the entire steak because that would make the water pretty dirty. So I'm just gonna cut off a little piece just like that, and well, I'm just gonna put this in.
So I put the steak in, and thankfully this time we at least got a bit of action, because after about 10 minutes you could tell they certainly weren't swarming it, but there was the occasional shrimp going on to the piece of meat, and it was kind of cool because you could see their microscopic little mouths taking tiny little bites out of the meat. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, for being in here for 2 hours, it was a bit disappointing that they didn't eat this more. I guess with shrimp, you just want to stick to the boring foods like pellets, pets, all the way down to a literal $1 pet axolotl.
Yup, I just found this listing for $1 axolotl. But if you didn't know, axolotls usually cost a lot more than $1, so I'm like worried, is this thing gonna be in bad condition or something? I don't know, but let's go investigate.
So I drove to the seller's house, which thankfully wasn't too far. When I got there, he said he didn't want to be on camera, but he showed me the axolotl tank and he told me why they were only $1. Apparently his pet axolotl had way too many babies, and inside of this tank was one of the last babies he hadn't sold yet. So I quickly scooped it up into a bucket I brought with clean water, packed it in my car, and drove home.
Alright, I made it, and I'm a little worried about this axolotl's condition because it didn't really seem like it was being kept in the best condition. You doing alright, little buddy? Let me just scoop you up and we can get a closer look at this guy.
And unfortunately, my suspicions were correct, because when I took a closer look at the body of this baby axolotl, I noticed its front right hand was missing. If you look over here, this is what it's supposed to look like, but yeah, I guess this hand must have accidentally got cut off because of how fragile baby axolotls are.
Dang, that actually sucks. We gotta help this guy, and thankfully, I got just a plan.
You see, I've got these things that when we plop into water, they turn into tons of little bloodworms. These are some of the most nutritious and also delicious foods for a baby axolotl, so I sort of just made it rain bloodworms on this guy, which you can see he absolutely started to devour up. If you didn't know, axolotls are extremely amazing in that they are one of the only animals that have the ability to regenerate limbs when they lose them. And by eating these bloodworms, this guy will now have the nutrients to do that very same thing for his hand.
Yo, for $1, this thing might be my favorite pet. It's so cute. Oh my gosh.
And I would learn, apparently this baby axolotl was even cooler than I thought, and in order to see that, I got out this quite a bit larger tank, and I started to lay down the floor of his new home. Even though our axolotl is so small and just a baby, they grow at a rapid pace, so in only a few months, this whole tank will be getting used up. And for the decorations, literally, we're just gonna use this big piece of wood and a few aquatic plants I had laying around in my garage.
Yep, that's it. We're done. You see, baby axolotls have skin that can scrape super easily, and since ours is already missing a hand, I just wanted to keep ours super simple till he gets a bit bigger. But oh my gosh, he's so cute, and I think he's ready to go inside.
So I let this baby loose into his brand new home. Instantly, he loved it, and you can just see how much he was swimming around and checking out his new enclosure.
Yep, that's one thing about baby axolotls. They're just way more active than adult axolotls usually are. Wait, I have something fun I want to try. What if I put some worms near the axolotl's face? Am I able to make it follow the direction of the worms? Wait, it kind of is.
Yep, I kind of just thought it would be funny to make the axolotl follow my tweezers like it was a fishing lure, basically. And surprisingly, he actually followed it for quite a long time up this log, but eventually he got bored and swim away. But yeah, it was kind of fun to lure him around this tank in random directions, and every now and then I would let him have a big old bite of the worms because he was just so cute to watch eat. Okay, I just got this in my car, and I've got to take this home quickly to make sure the snake inside is healthy. And if it is, I'm going to revamp this trash into a dream home to give the snake inside his best life. I've got no time to waste, let's go. After getting it home, the first step was to, of course, remove the snake from the enclosure. So I have this tool to grab it. I really hope the snake in there isn't venomous. I have to be super careful. I obviously didn't want to get my hands anywhere near this enclosure since the snake could be anywhere, so I used the tool to try and take out as many of the objects as I could. And it didn't take long until when I moved this piece of paper towel, I saw a glimpse of the snake under it. Thankfully, after seeing it move, it looked like it was still in good health, so I picked it up to take a closer inspection. Okay, come on, snake. Let me get you in this temporary tank real quick. And after comparing the colors and pattern of the snake to a bunch of different species, I think I found out exactly what species it was. Okay, check this out. This is called a Kenyan sand boa, and this looks exactly like the one I got. Okay, if this is actually a Kenyan sand boa, that means it's not venomous, and I should actually be able to just go and pick it up. Are you gonna bite me? Now, at first, I was pretty scared to pick it up, but then I realized it was actually super chill and friendly and wouldn't bite me at all. Oh, look at this. Okay, from what I know, this species is actually a super good pet, so this is gonna be awesome. But the main reason I was so excited, I'm at Petco right now, and let me just find the frozen mice section. Okay, here they are, and as you can see, they got all these just kept in little bags like this small rat. But since my sand boa is kind of small, let's just get some of these super small fuzzy mice, which are like the size of my thumb. Okay, let me get like 3 of these. When I got home, I let water run over one of the frozen mice to thaw it out, and once it was thawed, I took it out the package to feed to the snake. All right, well, I've got the mouse here, just grabbing it by the tail with some tweezers, and let's just see if the snakes can go in and eat it. The snake was somewhere burrowed in the floor, so I just laid the mouse on top and waited about 10 minutes to see if maybe it would pick up the scent or something and eat it. But after 10 minutes, I saw literally nothing. Okay, well, clearly having the mouse just stay still is not working, so I'm gonna pick it up by the tail again and just kind of start shaking it up and down on top of the dirt, and I'm hoping this is gonna create little vibrations, which will set off the snake's predator instincts, and it'll come pop up, hopefully sometime around now. Hello? So I did that for about 5 minutes, and unfortunately not even that worked. But I think I knew why the snake wasn't coming up to eat. So to fix the problem, I drove to Petco again, and this time came home with a way smaller mouse. So I did that same thing with the smaller mouse and wiggled it above right where the snake was, and immediately this happened. Oh, yo, it just ate it. Okay. I was trying to do that for a while, but look at that. That was so cool. It just popped up out of the dirt, and oh man, imagine being a live mouse and you have to deal with that. And as you can see, it didn't take long for the snake to start expanding its mouth so it can completely engulf the mouse. Yo, look at this snake, bro. He is just going crazy. I can't even film this. His body's just wrapped around the mouth. You can even see his mouth. Oh my god, that is so cool to watch. You see, because this is a boa, they wrap around their prey to constrict it. Even though it is a little disgusting, it's one of the coolest things to watch in all of nature. First, to start this enclosure transformation process, step number 1 is to take out the ugly remaining decorations. Okay, I have no idea why there's all this random stuff in here like a giant fake plant. This is not at all what sand boas need. So of course I gathered all of that up and threw it straight into the garbage bin where it belongs. Then that leaves us with this. This is so bad. There's just paper towels as the floor and a random pile of dirt. Yeah, sand boas need at least a couple inches of substrate for the floor so they can go in it and burrow, so this is definitely not good enough. Yeah, let's get this out of here. And like, why is there just random like red stains on this? Yeah, after taking the remaining dirt out, I had to finally get out a little razor and scrape off all these little piles of glue and dirt off the wall. I have no idea why they were there, but they're ugly, so they gotta go. Well, we're back to just the tank now, and this is where things get fun. You see, the first step to build the snake's dream home is to create the background, and to do that, I used some animal safe spray foam to cover the entire back of the glass so I could attach rocks and sticks. You see, I want to create a mix of a desert and forest in this enclosure to sort of mimic the snake's natural habitat, and to complete that look, I covered the remaining foam in some sand and other foresty decorations like dirt. Alright, this background's looking pretty nice and foresty, but for step 2 of making this a dream home is to put the floor and decorations in. But before I can put any dirt in here, I first have to fill it with a bunch of these clay balls, and then cover those with some window screen. Now, if you're a terrarium expert,
but you already know what I'm doing. Basically, what I've built here will allow water to pass through just like that, but not dirt, essentially creating a drainage layer in here, which will stop mold from growing. So yeah, that's pretty good.
Now for the substrate mix that goes on top, we're only going to use a little bit of sand. You see, despite being called a sand boa, it's actually better for the species to have this wood chip stuff called cypress bedding make up most of the floor. But I also mixed in some other brown foresty stuff to make it a little bit softer. Finally, I poured a few inches of that inside and covered it in a thin layer of just dirt to make it less ugly.
Now for the decorations, and as you can see, I got a ton of stuff, but I want to make this interesting to watch, so start this super cool, epic building decorations montage. Let's go. Yeah, that was pretty cool. But now you're probably noticing that the left and right sides of the enclosure are looking pretty barren and empty. Well, that's because step number 3 is to put DIY decorations there.
First up, the left side. Here, I want to build a giant massive tree trunk that looks like it has leaves and stuff coming off of it. And to do that, I went and gathered all the wood I had in my house into a big container so I could easily access it.
This is all just leftover wood from previous videos. Yeah, sometimes I buy a little bit too much, but today it's gonna have a use.
Now, I didn't have much of an idea of how I would do this, but I figured I would just start by using spray foam to connect little pieces of the wood together, and then I continued to stack the wood up to make it look like the trunk of a tree, and then I stuck some branches onto it.
Alright, this is a little bit looking like a tree trunk. I still gotta go and cover this exposed spray foam, but for now, check this out. It's just a bunch of carpet moss. I'm basically just gonna attach it to the tree so it looks like there's a bunch of leaves coming off of it. Should look pretty good. Let's do that.
And so using my hot glue gun, that's exactly what I did. After putting the moss all over it, I covered most of the exposed spray foam with some dirt and then glued a couple actual leaves hanging from the tree.
Alright, this looks just like a tree, and we're done. Oh. Yeah. Anyways, that means we can move to the right side DIY decoration. And to start that, I've got the base right here.
This is a normal cave decoration that you could buy for snakes to hide in. But I ended up getting out some real rocks and using more spray foam to attach them all around the cave. You know, I didn't want it to just look like a normal boring decoration that I bought. So yeah, this made it look nice and natural.
Alright, there we go. A nice little rock cave. And as you can see, it's pretty deep and dark in there. Wait, let me see if I can turn on my flashlight. Oh yeah, I got the light on and look at that. You can just see down in there. It's nice and pretty cozy. How about this thing's gonna like to go and hide in there?
But now for the final step to finishing this foresty dream home is to get some plants.
All right, and as usual, I don't have any plants, so let's go to the plant store. Okay, I'm at the plant store, and as you can see, they got a nice, beautiful selection here. But I actually just need to pick out, like, the smallest ones I could find. Okay, here's the small section. Let me just pick out some of this grass stuff. Oh, I'm gonna get this little one here. And, oh, man, I was just gonna get 2, but I'm just gonna let myself go crazy. Let's get this one, too.
After driving home, I got the plants out and put them around in the enclosure. But after doing that, I still felt like there wasn't enough greenery, so I got some of the carpet moss from earlier and scattered that around, too.
All right, and now to finish this off, I just want to put a nice bulb right there, and then put a UVB bulb right next to it. And as you can see, looks pretty good. Got those going.
As you can see in the basking spot under the heat lamp, it was a nice 90 degrees. And over in the cooler side of the enclosure, it was about 75 degrees, which is perfect for the snake, so it can decide how hot or cold it wants to be. Well, anyways, this enclosure has been completely transformed from that pretty trash home into a chunk of nature that I think the snake is gonna enjoy a lot.
All right, well, I guess let me just take these paper towels out. I've just been keeping the Kenyan sand boa in this temporary enclosure, and oh, look at you. All right, so I'm just gonna go and pick them up just like this, and welcome to your new home, boy. I hope you like it. Oh, and he's just already going straight into the dirt. All right, I guess I'll see you later, man.
Yeah, when I said these guys like to burrow in the floor, I really meant it. I don't know how long it's been since this guy's had the chance to be able to do it, but you can tell he was loving it.
Bro, I don't even know where the snake went. Oh, wait, no, you can see its tail right there, but other than that, it's completely just disappeared.
But if you look closely in this footage, you can see the dirt slightly moving around from where this guy was digging underground. I'm happy I was able to give this guy a new home. It was super fun building it.
This is an Asian forest scorpion. But right now, he's living in a pet store with a small cage, no water, and he literally just has dirt. So I'm gonna spend $500 to give this scorpion the dream life he deserves. I want to give him unlimited food, an actual diverse ecosystem, and I even want to simulate weather events that the scorpion can experience in the wild. I actually had to build it from scratch because apparently the people who made it were too lazy to do that themselves. Anyways, I have tons of materials to build all sorts of stuff for this enclosure. But firstly, I'm gonna create the rainforest backdrop. These scorpions live in the jungle and the wild, so I'm gonna build the jungle in his enclosure. To start this off, I need to load some silicone into my gun. and cover the whole back of the glass with it like this. Then I got a ton of spider wood and put it along the back to represent tree branches. Now you might be wondering how I'm gonna make this wood stick to the back. Well, let me introduce you to spray foam. Basically, we're just going to... and boom. You might be thinking this looks ugly, and well, that's because it is. But to fix that, I'm gonna cut off some of the foam with a knife and put in some more silicone. And you might still be thinking this looks ugly. Well, to fix that, I'm gonna sprinkle some coconut fiber on it. And there we go. This is starting to look, okay. But the whole backdrop will really come to life once I fill these tiny pots that I also put here up with beautiful plants. But before doing that, we need to first design the floor portion of the terrarium. To start, we're filling up the bottom with a bunch of balls. Clay balls, to be exact. This is gonna be our drainage layer to make sure there won't be any mold outbreaks in the scorpion's dream home. Because you know, that would probably be bad. Anyways, I cut out some window screen and put that above the balls so I can fill it up with some substrate. We're gonna need at least 6 inches of substrate in order for the scorpion to be able to dig little burrows for himself. Which, if you remember, the pet store scorpion had barely an inch of dirt. He is probably so sad. So, let's finish his dream home. Asian forest scorpions love coconut fiber, so I'm mostly using that. But I'm also gonna mix in some wood chips and sphagnum moss with it to make it look more natural. Wow. But the floor wouldn't be completed without some decorations. So first, I put in some cork bark and moss, which scorpions love to hide under. I also added a little shallow water tray so the scorpion could get a nice drink of water without drowning. Finally, I sprinkled some rocks around for good measure. This is starting to look really good. Psych! It's about to look 10 times better because now I'm adding in the plants. Remember, these scorpions are from the Asian rainforest. So to replicate that, I'm gonna find the most colorful plants I can. Off to the flower shop I go. I'll be there soon. And of course, I went to the best place to get plants, Walmart.
Place your item.
Now, surprisingly, they actually did have a few pretty nice colorful plants. So I picked out some that I liked. And I got some deodorant too. Not for the scorpion or anything, you know, I just needed some. Anyways, this is what I got. And I started by adding some of the smaller plants onto the backdrop. And then I planted the rest into the floor area. The chunk of the rainforest was now complete, but while it's pretty, it's definitely not a dream home. In order to make it a dream home, we need to spoil the poor scorpion by creating custom technology in his enclosure, like a literal insect dispenser that will deliver live insects straight into his mouth, plus even more, but we'll start with the insect dispenser. Now, to be honest, I basically have zero skills on building stuff, so I'm definitely not making some fully automatic crazy wired machine. Yeah, sorry. But what I will be doing is making a fun little slide for insects to slide down straight into their doom. To do this, I got a small acrylic tube and used some silicone to stick it at an angle to the wall. This will let me drop little feeding insects in, then watch them ride the slide of death. But to make sure there's a 0% chance the insects escape, I'm spraying some slippery Fluon stuff along the inside of it so they can't even grip on if they wanted to. I also have some other technology to put into the dream home, like this rectifogger. To use it, I basically just attach it to the side of the terrarium like this, and then I fill up the reservoir with water. Now when I turn it on, it does this. Wow, very cool. I mean, that's not needed or anything, but it makes the tank look really cool and rainforesty. For the final step of the dream home, I bought tiny little bugs called isopods that I'm letting loose into the enclosure.
Come on, get out. Get out.
Isopods are basically the holy grail of bioactive terrariums because they do everything from cleaning up waste to stopping mold outbreaks. I mean, the scorpion will probably eat them, but it's worth putting them in because of all of their benefits. Well, I'd say this is pretty good for the dream home. Now it's time to surprise that Asian forest scorpion. So I went to the same pet store and sure enough, it was still there, just laying there very depressingly. I'm gonna save you. And of course, saving the scorpion meant forking up $21 so I could buy it.
Let's go, baby.
Remember, I built all of this stuff for the scorpion, so I want to see how he reacts once I let him in. But before adding in the scorpion, I figured I should probably give it a name so I could stop referring to it as just the scorpion. And since scorpions are so menacing and scary with their venomous stingers and sharp claws, it's gonna need a menacing name to match. So everyone, please say hello to Sir Fluffsalot. Isn't he so cute? Anyways, I was having trouble putting Sir Fluffsalot into his new home, so I had to resort to putting on gloves because I was too scared of getting stung. Get off. No. Don't climb that. Do not climb out. Let go. Eventually, I was able to push him out into his dream home, and he absolutely loved it. Okay, to be fair, I don't know if he actually loved it, but he probably did, because he was like walking around and stuff. Anyways, now I want to utilize the insect dispenser, a dubia roach, and maybe he'll eat that. Roaches move around a lot more than mealworms, so this may activate Sir Fluffsalot predator instincts more. The dubia roaches scurried in towards the center of the ecosystem, right where the scorpion was resting. And apparently this roach here is extremely stupid, because he literally walked over to the scorpion and started to climb on it. Sir Fluffsalot tried to warn the roach by giving it a little kick, but the roach didn't really understand that it was standing right next to its death right now, and literally tried to climb into the scorpion's mouth. But despite all of this, Sir Fluffsalot simply did not attack or eat the dubia roach, a mealworm. Mealworms will probably be pretty easy to catch because they like barely even move. Bruh. So I dropped some down the slide of doom, and immediately the scorpion noticed. He slowly approached the stupid worms and... what? Okay, apparently he's just stepping on them and isn't even eating them. So I did some research to try and figure out why. And, oh, I'm stupid. You see, scorpions are nocturnal, so most of the day they actually spend sleeping and typically prefer to only hunt at night. And honestly, I don't understand why scorpions get to sleep the whole day, because when I sleep the whole day, I get called lazy and unproductive. But that's besides the point. It seems like Sir Fluffsalot was just trying to get some sleep. So instead, I waited until night and then dropped the final and juiciest prey in, crickets. Now Fluffy was ready to hunt. You may not see him now, but that's because he's sitting in his evil lair right behind a branch. I'm pretty sure he's waiting for innocent prey to stumble into a little hole he dug out right here, and then he'll kill them. Or maybe he's just still sleeping. But after a little while, a clueless cricket walked straight into it and couldn't get out. The cricket thought he was safe, but little did he know that the apex predator Sir Fluffsalot was watching his every move. When the time was right, Sir Fluffsalot leaped in and killed the cricket. Ooh, that's brutal. Fluffy now had a tasty meal for tonight to take back to his lair. The next morning, I wanted to test the fog machine with the Asian forest scorpions, so I turned that on and fog started to roll in. Honestly, I was expecting Sir Fluffsalot to react to the fog or something, but he kinda just sat there. Oh well, this machine will still be useful to make sure I can control the humidity levels and make sure the ecosystem has all the correct conditions. Sir Fluffsalot went from a tiny depressing little box to a big beautiful rainforest that mimics his natural environment. He seems to be enjoying himself, and he's gonna make a good addition to my pet collection. By the way,
this is an alien worm. It is an extremely rare worm species that has the insane ability to shoot slime out of its mouth to glue its prey to the ground. Usually, you would never be able to find one of these. I had received the so-called alien worms.
Yo, please tell me I did not get scammed with these things.
But I took out the packing material, and thankfully, these rare creatures were actually here.
Oh, it's the alien worms. Yo, I gotta get a closer look at these guys.
So I took the lids off of the containers that they were packed in and carefully moved one over to a damp paper towel. Instantly, we can see why people call them alien worms. They quite literally look like a mutant abomination between a centipede and an earthworm, and their skin is lined with thousands of these tiny weird bumps. But of course, the weirdest part of these worms was revealed when I tried to move it with my tweezers. Almost instantly, it turned around and spat its alien slime all over them. Yup, out of these two front arms, the alien worm is able to straight up cover my tweezers in this sticky glue substance that they actually mainly use to glue prey to the ground so they can easily go up to them to eat them whole. It's something straight out of an alien movie.
And of course, I don't just have one of these worms. I have 10 of them. This is gonna be so fun.
To get started, we need to recreate the alien worm's natural environment in this tank, which surprisingly is not actually some alien planet. These creatures actually live in the Central American rainforests. So I'm gonna be using some spray foam to make the background of this tank first. It's been a while since I've used it, but spray foam is the ultimate cheat code for rainforest tanks. Of course, because of the amazing ability to be able to stick stuff like dirt, sticks, and tons of other natural stuff to it to make it look, you know, natural. And once this background is looking pretty good, step 2 to making this tank is to do the floor, which is surprisingly important for our alien worms to get right.
mix. But thankfully, that's not too hard to do because basically all we got to do is just take some of these clay balls and pour it in like that. Then once that's filled up, we got to get out some window screen.
If you're a terrarium expert, you'll probably know I'm making a drainage layer right now. By cutting out this window screen and putting it above the clay balls, it lets water drain down into it, but it will still let us put our dirt right on top.
Now, you may have noticed that whenever I've had one of these alien worms out, they've been on a nice damp paper towel. That's because this species needs constant moisture or else they'll simply dry out and just die. So that means for this tank, we're gonna wanna add a ton of this nice purified water down into the drainage layer so it'll just stay nice and moist.
But I'm not just gonna pour water in the tank, that would be boring. Here on the TerraGreen channel, I gotta make things interesting.
That's why I've got a Spider-Man water shooter to add the water. Yes, sir, this thing shoots streams of water just like Spider-Man's web shooter shoots webs. And yeah, this might be kind of stupid, but it actually makes sense to do this because if you think about it, Spider-Man sticks his enemies to walls with webs. And well, the alien worms, they shoot goo onto their prey. So yeah, this definitely makes sense to do. Okay, and I think it's out of water. Okay, I'm just gonna pour the water in normally.
So yeah, after adding in the water, you can see this drainage layer now had a nice healthy amount of water in it. This moisture will help keep the dirt above nice and wet. And speaking of that dirt, it's now time to add that in. Lots of people sometimes like to make their complex mixes of tons of different types of dirts and mosses, but today I'll just be using this nice old bag of jungle dirt mix. This already has a good ratio of all the different types of natural stuff that makes up the dirt in the jungle where the alien worms actually live.
There we go. Look at this place. It's actually looking pretty dirty. Yeah, you see what I did there? Dirty, because there's dirt everywhere. Anyways, in my hand, I have a ton of insects. Don't ask me how I got these. But you see, I have something I want to do with these. Basically, I'm going to dig a little hole here along the side of the glass, and then I'm going to bury all of these insects right there, basically.
You see, obviously the alien worms eat insects, so I thought by burying these down here, there could be the slight chance that our alien worms would pick up on the scent and dig down to find them. To be honest, I don't even know if alien worms can dig, but hey, I guess someone has to find out somehow. Anyways, this is where the build starts to get fun, because now it's time to do the decorations.
Yep, the first decoration I want to make is a cave made out of rocks. But it's actually cool how you make it. Let me show you.
Yeah, you may just think that we could just stack a bunch of rocks on each other and call it a cave, but in reality, there's a lot more that goes into it. What I actually had to do is buy these wooden skewer things and essentially start poking them into the background to make these little platforms for me to place rocks on top of. This essentially lets me create an arch shape out of all the rocks here that the alien worms will be able to walk under. Then we basically glue all these together with some more spray foam. Yep, since it's black, it blends in pretty well. And once I covered most of the excess spray foam with some more rocks and dirt, boom, the cave is done. All right, but this place is still looking pretty barren, so I figured it was time to finally start adding some color around with this nice moss. Not only is it super beautiful, but if we leave it alone for enough time, it'll completely grow over the whole tank in a bunch of greenery.
Okay, for the next decoration, you guys might think it's stupid, but I think it's genius. It's this stuff. And if you don't know what this is, it is modeling clay. But trust me, I have a good purpose for it.
Because if you take a look at it, you'll notice how it's super stringy and almost slimy looking when I pull it apart. Almost very similar to how the alien worm slime that they shoot looks like. So I thought it'd be pretty fitting to start just stretching this around parts of the background and other parts of the tank to basically make it look like there was a bunch of old dried up slime that these alien worms had shot around the tank. And of course, right now this stuff is still soft and could be bent in any way, but in a few hours the air will harden it up and make it non-toxic for our worms.
Some people might say this just like made it look uglier, and I would kind of honestly have to agree, but also it just kind of adds character, so I think I'm gonna keep it.
All right, then I just quickly added in some plants because, you know, nature has plants, so I figured this would just help the place look more natural. And finally, I just had one more decoration.
Yes, sir, I got an alien statue to put inside. We'll put that right there.
Yeah, I mean, we literally have one of the most alien creatures that exists on all of Earth, so it only makes sense to have this in here, so I'll always know what's in the tank.
Now, before adding in our alien worms, there's one final thing we got to do. I've got 3 different life forms here of different animals I'm gonna add inside. Let me get them inside.
The first life form I'll be adding is very simple, but very effective. It's springtails. You almost certainly know them if you've seen my channel before, but in fact, right here, I bought over 3,000 of these little guys that I'm going to release into the tank. Since we're gonna be keeping keeping it so unbelievably moist, mold might start growing in the tank, but springtails eat mold, so it solves that problem. But I don't only have these boring bluish colored springtails, I also decided to buy a batch of exotic yellow springtails, which costed a lot more, but they looked a bit cooler, so it was definitely worth it in my eyes.
Okay, but this next life form is going to blow your mind. Check out what is inside this box.
Right in here, I've spent over $50 on a couple tiny little isopods. Isopods are a little type of bug that basically just keep your tanks clean, but I didn't buy just any regular old isopod. Say hello to the rubber ducky isopod. Yes, sir, these things cost like 100 times more than a regular one, because if you just look at the front of its body, it literally is yellow and has an orange beak just like a rubber ducky. So yeah, people thought this was cool and decided to just sell them for an absolute insane price. And honestly, I think they're worth it because they're super cute, and the fact that they keep our tank clean, I mean, that's just sick.
Well, hopefully you guys enjoy your time in the tank. And hopefully the alien worms don't decide to eat you guys. That would kind of be sad.
And now for our third and final life form. This one is extremely creepy because you see, recently my friend Flytrap Films uploaded a video about a weird alien mold that he discovered. In this video, he literally showed off how this mold is able to move on its own and literally eat decaying insects. And for some reason, he decided to send his alien mold to me.
And hey, we're keeping alien worms, so I figured we may as well try and keep this weird alien mold stuff too, to see if it interacts with the worms in any weird way.
So I went ahead and opened the package Flytrap Films had sent me, and inside I was kind of confused by what I saw. He had packed a dish full of these tiny pieces of paper with little yellow specks on them. Now, I'm pretty sure these yellow specks are the slime molds. And because they grow at a rapid pace, it shouldn't be very long until ours come alive.
So I'm pretty sure to make this alien mold come alive, we literally just plop the specks of it on this little dish, just like that, and then we put this oat right on the other side, so they'll have something to eat. All right, let's see if these start moving.
So yeah, I just left my camera recording, and it only took about 30 minutes until one decided to wake up. Out of nowhere, this one at the bottom left started to pulsate its yellow body like crazy, and then it slowly started to grow off of the edge of the piece of paper it was on, and it started to walk towards the oat I had put inside. Yup, I have no clue how a literal mold is able to walk, let alone find food sources to swarm and eat, but after the mold got to eat a bit of this oat, it got enough energy to grow upwards towards the middle mold to merge with that and grow even stronger.
Oh my gosh, I just woke up, guys, and look at this alien mold, what it's doing right now. Not only has it moved so much, but it's going to the other alien molds to like eat them. Nah.
The alien slime mold kept merging around with more of the molds and eating more oats. And as I kept watching, unfortunately the dish kept getting all condensated and stuff, and basically blocked my view from getting all the interesting shots. But thankfully, we could still see some of the growth on the sides of the condensation, and you can see how active it was under there.
Oh my gosh, guys, look at this alien mold. It is so crazy how much it is able to just completely devour these oats.
And yeah, considering this thing started as a little tiny piece of mold and eventually got this big, it tells me that if it escapes into this tank, it might grow large enough to cover the entire thing.
So, of course, I'll be going ahead and putting this alien mold in the cave like that, so it can continue growing. And of course, at the end of the video, I'll be seeing if the alien worms interact with it in any sort of weird way.
Anyways, this tank is now completely finished and ready for our alien worms so we can learn all about them.
All right, let's get these alien worms in. Now, if you remember, I was moving them with tweezers earlier, but that was causing them to spit their slime at me, which I don't want them to have to do in defense since it probably stresses them out. So instead, I'm gonna try and gather them up with this spoon so the squeezing doesn't spook them.
So I went ahead and gathered them all up and scooped them all into their brand new enclosure. It's pretty cute watching them all be bunched up into a ball like this together. Apparently, a group of these alien worms is called a cuddle, which I think is pretty fitting. But as you can see, it didn't take very long for a few of them to start venturing off on their own to explore. Out of all the worms I had gotten, most of them were pretty decently sized, like this one. But as you can see, a few of them, like these two, were still super small babies. Which I'm not gonna lie, these guys are super cute, and I wonder which kind of prey they even eat, and if they can shoot slime too.
But yeah, I just think it's kind of stupid how each of these alien worms costed me $150. Even the babies, even though they're so much smaller. But yeah, that's just how rare alien worms are. Please subscribe. It was very expensive.
Anyways, now let's let these creatures hunt 3 different types of food so we can finally study how they use their insane slime to attack prey.
Sorry, crickets, yeah, you guys are probably about to have a bad time.
So I once again found a decently sized alien worm and put the cricket right up to him. Now at first the worm just didn't really care and was letting the cricket walk all over him, but eventually I placed the cricket directly on the head of the alien worm, and that's when it finally started to show some interest. It all of a sudden raised its slime shooters up and shot a stream of slime onto the cricket, of course trying to stick it to the ground so it wouldn't be able to escape. Now crickets can be extremely fast and agile, so this glue is extremely necessary here so the worm can essentially strap it to the floor. And we can see it worked perfectly because when the cricket tried to start moving, well, it was completely stuck here, and the alien worm started to advance its creepy alien mouth up to the prey and started to consume it. Well, that was until like 2 minutes later when it decided it was bored and ran off into the moss, leaving the cricket stuck behind.
Yo, did the alien worm really just leave the cricket? Wait, nah, he came back, bro. I thought he left. Wait, bro, I gotta get my camera back out. I didn't realize he was gonna come back.
Yeah, apparently the alien worm wasn't done eating, so it came back so it could fill up a bit more. Anyway, since these things apparently love eating crickets, I decided to go around and feed the rest of the alien worms with their own crickets. And yeah, once again, you can just see how they shoot out their alien goo and just absolutely devour the prey from head to toe, sucking all the juices out.
Well, these things are a lot bigger and juicier. They will certainly eat this.
So I went ahead and located one of the larger alien worms and brought out one of the wax worms. You can see how the wax worm is essentially the same size as our alien worm, so I was almost expecting nothing to happen here. That was until this, when the alien worm locked onto the prey and it shot its slimy glue out. Now, it didn't shoot out a crazy amount, but it was enough for it to start moving in and eating the prey. Alien worms are equipped with these crazy mouths that have little razors inside of them, so they can absolutely decimate whatever they need to eat. However, you can see how the waxworm was not cooperating at all and was squirming everywhere, making it impossible to eat. So the alien worm decided to shoot even more slime out, which let it get a way better grip, and yeah, it started to eat. Dang, that is cool.
I swear, this worm is literally a straight up assassin. How is it taking down a worm that's basically the same size of its body?
It's sort of brutal to watch, but it's also insanely interesting because there would be times like this, and this yellow liquid would just start to leak out of the wax worm, which the alien worm would just instantly slurp up. You'd probably like to see why I like to call these things alien worms with how weird they are.
Yo, let's go. It was actually sick to watch these guys get eaten. But of course,
while I'm thinking the bigger alien worms certainly aren't gonna go for them, we'll see what the baby alien worms do since they're so much smaller. So I immediately dropped one of the flightless fruit flies right next to one of the smaller baby alien worms. And initially it seemed like the worm was maybe sort of interested in the fly, but it wasn't attacking it or anything. But that was until this. Did you see that? Let's rewind that and play that back in slow-mo, because if you look very closely, the worm actually locked onto the fly and shot its alien slime out. Yep, this string of white stuff is the slime that had actually managed to land on the fly, but yeah, because it's a baby, it barely shot any slime at all. But even though the slime had completely immobilized the fly, making it not be able to escape, for some reason our alien worm did not go up to it at all to eat it. And for the next few hours, each time I tried to get one of these baby alien worms to eat a fly, it straight up just didn't.
Okay, bro, I feel like if they were starving, they would eat these flies. But since these things are literally just so small, I feel like it's not even worth their effort to try and eat them. Oh, guys, we cannot forget about the alien mold that I put in the cave. Check out how much it has grown. It's like taking up the whole dish.
But of course, I wanted to see if the alien worms would interact with this thing in any weird way, so I went ahead and brought some of them over. Now, of course, don't worry. Despite this stuff being literally mold, it's not dangerous in any way to anything that's alive. And apparently, our alien worms knew that, because this one decided it just wanted to start walking all along the side of this alien mold stuff.
Okay, bro, even though this alien mold is completely harmless, I just feel kind of weird about letting this guy crawl on this, but I mean, I guess it's fine. Dang, I wonder what it feels like to walk on that stuff. It's gotta feel weird.
But yeah, nothing monumental happened. It was just kind of cool to see the alien worms be sort of interested in this mold. This is 50 Venus flytrap plants. And in this video, I'm gonna put 1,000 flies in the same container as them. Will the sheer number of flies trick the traps, causing them to close? Or are the flies just simply cooked? right?
Yeah, I don't know, but that's why I bought this.
This is 1,000 fly larvae. Yeah, might look extremely nasty, but over the next week, as long as I feed them food, they should all turn into flies so I can do this test.
So while we wait for these guys to turn into flies, obviously I have all of these Venus flytraps. But I also have tons of other carnivorous plants that you may have never even seen before. Now, I know it may sound stupid, but I promise you how they work and catch insects is actually really insane. Let me show you how they work.
And yeah, it's not a joke how small these things are, because when compared to normal Venus flytraps, the jaws are about 10 times smaller. And in fact, they're kind of cute, to be honest.
But since these are minuscule, the normal prey I feed in my videos is not gonna cut it. Yeah, sorry cricket, you get to live another day. That's why instead, I got literally the smallest thing available.
These are flightless fruit flies, which if you've seen my channel before, because seriously bro, how are you a fly that doesn't have the ability to fly? That doesn't make any sense. But anyways, I put the smallest Venus flytraps in the testing enclosure, then I put one of these flies inside to see if he'd get caught. Start the timer. Now this fly didn't waste any time, because it immediately walked straight up to one of the Venus flytrap pots, and then started to walk all over the tops of the jaws, absolutely risking his life. You may already know this, but normal Venus flytraps work by having these super tiny trigger hairs inside of them that when a bug or something touches them, it snaps shut. But these traps are obviously the smallest in the world. Because of that, they have extremely small trigger hairs. And I'm talking so small that if I zoom in like 100x on this footage, they're so thin, my camera can't even pick them up. And I guess the trigger hairs were quite literally so thin that every time this flightless fruit fly walked inside the jaw of a trap, the jaw didn't close at all, and the fly was able to just walk out. I mean, it kind of makes sense. These flightless fruit flies weigh about 0.0003 grams. So yeah, I guess the traps quite literally can't even be triggered by how light their weight is.
Yeah, clearly the fruit flies aren't gonna work. So instead, I got the world's smallest cricket instead to test. Let's see if this works any better.
And oh boy, let me just tell you, things were a lot more interesting this time around. Because once again, the cricket walked straight up to one of the trap pots and started climbing all over the tops once again. But this time, quite literally within 30 seconds, the cricket happened to put his face up to the lip of one of the Venus flytraps. You may also already know this, but these plants produce a special kind of nectar around the lips of their jaws to lure insects in like this cricket. And you can see it was working pretty well, because this cricket was just absolutely slurping this nectar up. But he was getting a bit too distracted, because he then stepped into the trap, probably stepping on the micro trigger hairs, which then caused the jaws of it to close. But the cricket was too fast, and he was barely able to make it out with his life. Dang, that was a close call, but you can see how quickly that can all happen. And yeah, don't worry guys, because there's only a few minutes later when the cricket did the same exact thing. He walked up to another jaw, walked straight into it, and yeah, this time the trap closed on him while he was starting to walk out, leaving half of his body now sticking out of the trap. Even though these are the smallest Venus flytraps in the world, they trap insects nearly just as well as the fully grown ones.
This plant can also eat insects. And actually how it does it is probably the most brutal out of all of them. Let me show you.
Yep, like I said, these are called pitcher plants. And similar to the last plant, they have pretty long stems that go up. But the difference is this time at the top, there's this little trapdoor leaf thing that if you look is actually covering a hole that leads directly down to a pit of acid at the bottom of the stem. Yep, these traps have this little hole here that's lined with a super slippery nectar on the inside. So whenever an insect walks inside, they'll slip into the acid at the bottom, and yeah.
And what's really cool is if you actually look inside of this pitcher plant, since it's kind of small and shallow, you can actually see the pool of acid at the bottom. And it actually looks like there's a couple little flies and stuff in there, which it looks like it's actually already dissolving. So yeah, it'd be cool to see some crickets or something following these. Let's test it out.
I didn't even need to use an enclosure this time because I knew this was going to be an extremely fast test. Because immediately after placing the cricket on this first pitcher plant, it started to climb along the sides of the red pitcher. As you can see, the inside of the plant is lined with these downward pointing hairs. This is to make it even more slippery and hard to escape. And yeah, it's kind of funny to see how fast this all happens, but the next time the cricket went to the opening of this plant, it straight up just slipped in right away. Nah, this dude had no clue this plant has evolved over millions of years to just be able to eat them this fast. Yeah, and as you can see on this footage that I recorded on my phone, he was now just sitting at the bottom of this pool of acid. Over the next few days, it'll dissolve him and turn him into nutrients for this plant to grow even stronger and larger. Nice.
And yeah, that's really all there is to these pitcher plants. They're not really the most interesting thing ever. Not everyone knows what a sundew is, but they're actually pretty cool. Let me show you what they do.
So obviously, like fly traps, traps, sundews are also a carnivorous plant. Except instead of having jaws, it has these long stems with these little red hairs on the top of them. But on each of these little red hairs is a special kind of sticky glue it produces that will make it so when a fly or any other insect touches it, it gets permanently stuck because of how sticky it is.
And when an insect gets stuck on here, the trap does something insane to be able to consume the insect, which I'll show you very soon when it obviously traps an insect.
So yeah, I got multiple of these sundew plants, and I even got this slightly different kind of sundew called an octopus plant. That will be cool to see if this can catch any insects as well. So let's get these in the testing chamber.
And for this, I think I'll be using a cricket once again because they're literally perfect. They can just climb up the side of the stems and yeah, just get stuck. This should be fun to watch. Let's put this dude inside.
So yeah, once again, I just started with one of these guys, but if this guy gets caught fast, I'll be adding way more inside of here. Anyways, so this cricket for the first minute kind of just wandered around the walls of the enclosure, but it wasn't long until he started heading towards the sundews. Now you see, the sticky glue that this plant produces is actually a type of nectar, which smells and tastes great to the insects. So yeah, just like how Venus flytraps lure insects in with their nectar, these traps do the same thing, because this cricket then decided to start climbing up the stem. The only thing is though that he ended up stopping right before the sticky part, and that's actually because of his antenna. You see, crickets have these pretty long antennas that help them navigate and detect danger before running into it, and this guy's antenna actually ended up getting stuck in the sticky nectar part. But using its mouth, it was able to pull the antenna back and then started to lick all the nectar off of it. Yeah, and I'm not kidding, this cricket really just sat here for like 30 minutes, constantly licking his antenna, then putting it back into the sticky nectar, and then licking it back up. He was kind of outsmarting this carnivorous plant and just getting its nectar for free. So I'm not gonna lie, I just tried to push him towards it with my tweezers since he clearly wasn't gonna do it on his own. And yeah, he just kind of ended up falling off.
Yo, what the heck? I was just trying to record that cricket and I just realized there's a jumping spider in here. Do you see that? It's on the little octopus plant. Is it stuck?
Yeah, this jumping spider just happened to wander into this enclosure by accident. I guess he was just living somewhere in my house. But since he was here, I figured I'd just watch him to see if he would get caught by the traps. And pretty quickly, he started to climb the stems of the trap and got up to the sticky part. But yeah, he was kind of too smart for this trap too and turned around the second he realized it was sticky. But it was pretty cool to watch this guy just jump around the plants. However, he never really ended up getting trapped and he ended up just climbing out of the enclosure.
All right, guys, I'm not gonna lie. This cricket, I've been trying to record him getting eaten for like 2 hours now. And every time right before going on the sticky part, he just stops and cleans his antenna. And yeah, he just turns around and never actually goes on the sticky part. He's too smart for this. So yeah, let me take this guy out.
Instead, I actually just got out the flightless fruit flies again, because apparently this is actually sundew's favorite insect. And yeah, I just dumped a few on the sand, and it wasn't long until some of them started to climb all over the stems and eventually started getting stuck all over the different sticky parts. I even went and just dumped a crazy amount of these flies all over the top of the sundew plants to show you guys exactly how cool sundews really are. Because obviously, now you can see the sticky parts of the plants are just completely covered in flightless fruit flies. Now, if you're wondering how this plant actually eats the flies, well, this footage shows how. As you can see, it uses each of its red hairs to basically curl around the prey. And once all of those curl around it, the stem itself also starts to curl around the prey. This will basically ensure the fly has a 0% chance of escaping, while the plant releases basically an acid to consume it. Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
So yeah, it's pretty cool to see these things work. All these flies are just gonna turn into food for these plants very soon.
I'll test as many flies as I can against all of my Venus flytraps to see who wins. Let's start very simple though, with 5 Venus flytraps versus a single fly. And let's see if this fly can get trapped in under a minute. Now I know you may be thinking, bruh, TerraGreen, I don't care about one fly, this is boring. Well, don't worry, because this literally only lasted like 20 seconds. Because immediately this fly started to crawl up the side of a pot, and of course he made his way immediately into a jaw, triggered one of the hairs, and it closed directly onto him. Yup, flies are basically the one thing Venus flytraps are the best at catching. I mean, they're called Venus flytraps for a reason.
Anyways, I got the tank.
And I didn't waste any time. I just got out the flies that I've been hatching, and I put them straight into this enclosure so we could get this final test started. Quickly, I removed the lid and started the timer. Let the test begin. Now, immediately, a couple of the flies started to fly out of the container, and others started to walk out of the sides. Now, there was something weird though, because while the container had a decent amount of movement in it, only like 10 of the flies were actually leaving the container over the 4-hour time lapse here. Yeah, basically all the flies were staying in there. So I decided to just take the paper towel out that they were all on and tried to just shake off as many as I could onto the Venus flytraps. And obviously, this meant that a few of the flies were now scattered all over the traps and were actually starting to get trapped. But most of them were just being super inactive, barely moving, and not flying. I guess because they were just newly hatched flies and it takes a while for them to become normal.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, guys, this is kind of a fail. Basically, none of the flies are flying around, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish this.
But don't worry, because my YouTube friend Flytrap Films recorded a test with an insane amount of flies super similar to this. And he wanted me to show you it. In it, you can see he has a Venus flytrap plant out, and also a bunch of rotten meat in order to attract the flies. Yeah, and it worked really well, because instantly tons of flies started to gather around this plant. And you guessed it, started to get trapped. I mean, when you have this many flies, it's a given that tons are just gonna get trapped right away. And what's so crazy is that sometimes so many would gather on some of the jaws before they close, causing up to 6 flies to get trapped in the same jaw at the same time. What? Flytrap Films himself said that this is the most flies he's ever seen get caught at once. Also, some bonus footage for you guys. You remember those pitcher plants from earlier? Flytrap Films also did the same test with a massive pitcher plant to show you guys how effective these things are at catching flying insects. And this plant literally just looks like a vacuum cleaner sucking up all the flies. Which in a way, it kinda is, because every time a flying insect flaps its wings above the opening in this plant, it creates a weird kind of vacuum effect with the wind, causing the bug to actually get pulled down into it. And yup, after not too much time, this thing just caught so many flies. And it was literally just starting to overflow. That is probably the craziest performance from a carnivorous plant that I have ever seen. Many animals in nature have stingers to defend themselves. And some of those animals, like the cow killer, have venom so strong that their stings cause some of the most immense pain ever.
Oh my gosh, guys, this is super bad.
So I went out and got 5 levels of insect stings that get progressively more painful. And I got my friend named Sai to take on this sting challenge.
I'm here to get stung by a couple insects, yeah?
Sai pulled it out so we could get our first look at it.
Sai, what do you think of this thing?
It's so small for being something so painful.
Yeah, and they say this thing's sting is so strong that it's able to kill cows.
Is that real?
Well, no, these things have actually never actually harmed someone. They're just extremely painful, so there's nothing for you to worry about.
That's good then.
Yeah.
So I went and picked this thing up with some tweezers, and mine is a bit small, so it's hard to see, but if you look very closely, you can actually see the stinger here retracting in and out. Cow killers have the longest stingers in the world, so they can inject their venom super deep into the victim.
All right, Sai, we're just gonna jump straight into this. I got it here, I'm not gonna lie. I'm just gonna put this on your arm right now.
Okay, I'm really scared. This is gonna hurt. This is gonna really hurt. All right, $10,000. That's a lot of TerraGreen plushies. Oh, ow!
Did it sting you?
Oh, yep, that's like deep.
Oh, it stung you.
Yup, it literally happened so fast, I didn't even realize he got stung. But based off of his reaction, he definitely did. Yeah, he was feeling it.
It burns. It feels like it's down there in the middle of my arm.
That thing just injected its stinger down deep into your arm and put that venom up in there.
Does my skin it looks red?
Yeah, that thing, it's just gonna get a big red spot there over time.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, this pain can sometimes last for up to days, but to make sure Sai didn't have to endure that, I put some of this special stuff on his arm that should help get rid of the sting as much as possible.
Sai, America's largest scorpion species.
Okay, that's probably gonna be a lot worse than the crab.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, you know what, for $2,500, I think we can tank it.
Let's do it.
But you could tell Sai was starting to get a lot more skeptical. And this time, he wanted to spend a bit of time to research online to figure out if it was actually safe to get stung by a desert hairy scorpion. Now, these guys got pretty painful venom, but of course, everything I've chosen in this video is completely safe for Sai to get stung by. It's just a bit painful, of course.
So, Sai, what do you think? Is this something you're down to get stung by after researching on Google?
Yeah, I mean, based off what Google said, seems pretty safe, but it's definitely gonna hurt.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna hurt, but for $2,500, I mean, what do you expect? Let's do this. Yeah, can you get your finger out? Yep, and can you get it inside?
So yeah, at first Sai wasn't really sure of how to get stung, so he kind of just started to tap the scorpion's claws and stuff to see if he could get it mad. But you see, scorpions are actually nocturnal, so I knew it was pretty unlikely that this dude was just gonna randomly sting Sai since we were recording during the day. And after like a minute or two of Sai very fearfully putting his finger around and even on the scorpion, my theory was proved right because the scorpion was actually being very chill and not even stinging him once. You see, when people like Coyote Peterson did their scorpion sting tests, they actually grabbed the stinger of the scorpion with tweezers. So I figured I should do the same thing here to ensure this test went very smoothly.
All right, Sai, 3, 2, 1. Ow. Oh, did it sting you?
Yep.
Oh shoot, what does it feel like?
Oh, it's not that bad, but it's sharp. It's sharp.
Nah, you just got stung by a scorpion and you're saying it's not that bad.
I felt it go into my skin.
Shoot, that must have been painful.
Yep, apparently the pain immediately wasn't so bad. But he did tell me as the minutes went on, he could feel the venom sort of spreading around the area where he got stung. But in this round. And here it is, a rainbow land crab.
All right, so we got the crab out the container, as you can see, and what are you thinking of it? First impressions.
It's very colorful, and the claw on the left there is kind of big, but
Yep, crabs actually have one big claw to use for extra crushing power, so hopefully Sai gets pinched by that. But actually, something I noticed about this crab was that it was actually injured. You see, normally crabs are supposed to have 4 legs on both sides of their bodies, but this dude only has 2 legs on this side of his body. I'm not sure how he lost 2 of his legs, but because of this, I wanted to make sure I built this guy a nice little enclosure. That way he'd have a place to rest after the pinch test. But yeah, don't worry, this didn't take long because we just immediately started to spam place a bunch of rocks all along the side of the enclosure. Now this may look kind of like trash, but I'm actually trying to recreate a rocky coastal environment that these crabs are used to in the wild.
All right, could you help me outside? Could you pour the water in?
yeah, I got you.
Let's get this crab a nice home. Oh yeah, yep, get that water in. Yep, you're pretty good at
He's
this.
swimming forever.
After we got the water in, I started to scatter around some of these random decorations, and obviously I planted some plants in the water. I put some final technology in, like a filter and a water heater, so we could have this build finished. Anyways, yeah, we quickly introduced this crab into the enclosure, and it seemed like he liked it. And he immediately found some nice little places to hide at. But obviously, Sai has a $1,000 to win. Let's do this test.
All right, Sai, for $1,000, you can go ahead and take the crab out of the container and yeah, you can just get pinched. Do it however you want, just take it out.
Let's see how it goes.
All right, you're just gonna let it crawl out. Let's see this.
So yeah, immediately the crab ran straight up to Sai's finger, and it looked like he meant business. But Sai actually thought the best way to do this test would be to pick up the crab. So yeah, that's what he did.
All right, so you got a hold of it. That's a pretty smart move, but all right, his pinchers are ready.
All right, let's do it.
Go ahead.
So Sai started to put his finger up to the claw of the crab, and the crab started to give the most vicious, brutal pinch of all time, as you can see. I'm just kidding. It was barely pinching.
What are you feeling?
Not much. I mean, he's kind of just sleeping, it seems like.
Bro, what is this crab doing? You're holding him in his hand, like, and he's just grabbing
we're
on.
We're best friends. We're holding hands. I mean, this guy's my friend. Can I keep him?
Yeah, actually, it was kind of funny how friendly this crab was. I mean, it genuinely just looks like the crab is hugging Sai's arm here. It's actually kind of cute.
All right, Sai, would you say that was easy or hard?
I think that was the easiest thing I've ever done.
Well, I didn't tell you about the second part of the challenge where you got to let that crab actually pinch your cheek on your face.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah, he really thought the crab was so weak that he was genuinely smiling and happy to do this.
It's licking me.
It's licking you.
I feel like it is. Kind of wet.
Yeah, it is a crab.
That's a fair point.
But yeah, if you couldn't already assume, the crab also didn't really do any real damage here. He just kind of gave it the slightest little pinch ever.
Well, Sai, that might have been the freest $1,000 of your entire life.
Possibly.
But remember, the only reason I wanted Sai to get pinched by a crab, this is a yellow jacket, and they're known for their insanely sharp sting. So this should be pretty interesting.
All right, Sai, let's waste no time. You got the wasp there. He looks pretty angry. For $500, get your arm out and put that cup on your arm.
Alrighty.
Yup, so we went and put the cup on his arm at the place where he was gonna get stung.
All right, Sai, I'm gonna start pulling it out. Oh, wow, this thing is getting mad. All right, I'm just gonna pull the paper towel out and let's see if it stings. It's really mad, Sai.
It's getting mad.
Pause. By the way, I gotta mention this, but do not try this at home, obviously. seriously. As a YouTuber, I've taken tons of safety precautions behind the scenes to make sure this is a safe test. And similar to why Coyote Peterson gets stung by all those crazy bugs, our goal today is to figure out which bug actually has the craziest sting and make an entertaining video. Anyways, let's get back to the wasp. Yep, this dude was furious trying to escape, but wasn't immediately stinging, surprisingly. I think because the wasp didn't even know that there was an arm under him. He might have just thought that this was floor under him.
Let me tap the side of the glass. Maybe we can get him mad. Sting him. $500, Mr. Wasp.
It's literally on my skin, bro. Just stick it in already.
And thankfully, Sai's wish came true immediately after he said that, because this happened.
Okay.
Wait, you actually just got stung, Sai?
Yep. It definitely hurts more than I remember.
How much is it hurting, like out of 10, you would say?
A 6 or 7 out of 10.
Let's come on, follow me.
So I took him down a trail by my house till we found a harvester ant nest. Despite these guys being pretty small, they actually have pretty painful stings. But yeah, it's pretty much nothing compared to the stings later in this video.
For $100, put your hand on the ant nest in 3, 2, 1.
Now, Sai has to keep his hand here for 45 seconds to win. But unfortunately, it wasn't looking good for him because immediately workers started to swarm onto his hand.
It's super tickly. I haven't gotten bitten yet.
No stings or anything?
Not yet.
You're straight up on their nest and they're not even defending it. These ants suck.
But oh boy, did things quickly start escalating, because out of nowhere, like 15 more ants started swarming onto his hand to investigate what it was. Still not stinging it though.
Do you feel anything?
It's just super tickly. I don't know if I haven't felt anything sharp just yet.
And I was thinking he wasn't gonna get stung at all as the timer started to run out. 3, 2, 1, and...
Oh my God, ow. Oh.
Yeah, so apparently Sai literally got stung at the very last second, but by just one ant, thankfully.
Oh, that's sharp. That feels really sharp. It's like a tiny little needle. That feels really sharp.
I just found probably the most alien-looking creature on Earth. It is literally a mutant creature with the mouth of a spider, the body of a scorpion, and claws that look like saws. And that's not even mentioning that it has some of the weirdest and creepiest behavior out of any animal ever. But despite how weird it is, apparently there's a website that will sell you one as a pet. So yeah, you guys read the title. I'm gonna build a home for one of these things and actually keep it as a pet. $20, let's just get it, oh boy. And once I get it, I'll be judging if this alien creature is actually a good pet, and I'll even show it to my mom to get her reaction. Yeah, she's gonna love it. Anyways, after placing the order, they said they would ship it out in a few days. So in the meantime, to build the enclosure, I got out the tank and a couple big boxes of rocks. Yeah, I got a lot of rocks for this. This is because I needed them to start stacking around the outer part of the enclosure to try to make it look like a cave. You see, in the wild, tailless whip scorpions like to hide in between rocks because, I guess that's just where they feel safe. I don't really know. And to connect the rocks together, I originally tried to use my handy dandy hot glue gun and, you know, glue them, but the rocks were just too heavy and it kept collapsing over and over. Oh my gosh, these stupid rocks keep falling. Yeah, it wasn't really working, so instead I resorted to using some animal safe spray foam like always, and I covered it in a bunch of the big rocks and then a bunch of tiny little rocks, and I repeated that process on the left and right side of the enclosure. And check it out. Hopefully you see the vision I'm going for. You know, there's a cave, we're making a cave, there's rocks on the walls. Yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. Now this is a good start. However, you'd be dumb to think this is all I'm doing. I'm making this the best enclosure ever so I can show off all the cool things the alien creature can do. It's gonna be so cool to watch. Anyways, the next step is to do the floor and decorations. And for the floor, we want it to be high quality and cheap, which is why I've got a bunch of these coconut fiber bricks, which are about to expand into a ton of dirt. Seriously, these are so cool. You just add a big tub of water like this. Ooh, I'm getting that everywhere. And over time, it's gonna start to absorb that water and they're gonna expand and become a bunch of dirt, you know? And boom, look at that. It went from those boring bricks to this nice, moist dirt. Yeah, boy. Okay, maybe it's not that cool, but you know, it's dirt. It's pretty necessary. To top off the floor, I mixed in some wood chips, dead leaves, some moss, and a couple rocks. Now, apparently the alien creature I'm getting has the ability to dig burrows out in this dirt with its claws, but I have no idea if mine's gonna do that, so hopefully it does. That would be pretty dang cool to watch. Now, to decorate the enclosure, I got these super thin sticks and started to glue them along the top. As you can see, they kind of look like tree roots, which adds this cool effect to the build that makes it look like there's trees growing above this cave. Nice. And of course, this wouldn't be a TerraGreen enclosure without some plants in here, which, as you can see, I've got a few of. And if you're wondering where I got them, yeah, I got them from Walmart, as always. I love Walmart so much. Please sponsor me. Please, please, please. As you can see, all the plants are pretty small since we don't want it to look too planty in this cave. So I planted them around and gave it a nice spray down with my water spraying thing. Now, these plants are actually super important because water droplets will gather on top of the leaves, which will easily allow the alien creature to sip them up and get hydrated, which, you know, is good. You know, we gotta make sure he can drink water and stuff. But while I was at Walmart getting the plants, I also found this absolutely majestical stone statue of an alien.
Hi, how are you?
Because, you know, we're putting a tailless whip scorpion inside of here, which is basically an alien. So yeah, I put that in to finish off the decorations. Bruh, this guy's got a big forehead. That's a real shame. Thankfully, my forehead isn't that big. Okay, the first 3 steps are all complete, but now it's time to get some technology in this enclosure to make it stand out. It's this super tiny Bluetooth speaker, which I buried in the dirt and covered with a leaf. With this, all I gotta do is connect it to my phone with Bluetooth, and I can play stuff like cave noises, which is pretty cool. You know, adds to the cave ambience. But of course, I don't have to make this speaker just play cave noises. I can make it play literally anything, like the most annoying sound in the world, 1 hour. What is this sound? What? This is so stupid. Okay, it definitely wasn't lying. This is probably the most annoying sound in the world. I don't think the alien's gonna like this if I play this when he's in here. Okay, I get it. Can you just turn off by now? Turn off. Okay. Oh, okay. Please turn off. Please. I had to fill up this container with a bunch of water, and after it was filled up, I put it back on top and finally twisted this knob right here. And now check this out. Out of the end of this tube, a bunch of smoke, as you can see, or fog, not smoke. It'd probably be bad if there's smoke coming out of it. Dang, that is actually cool. Look, it just comes out. I don't know how a machine just turns water into fog. That's pretty cool. Anyways, this is actually very useful, since as long as I turn this on about once a day, it will keep the humidity levels at a good spot for this enclosure. Also, it's just cool and adds to the cave ambience, you know? And speaking of cave ambience, let's go, baby. So I got out a knife and opened the package up. And oh, here it is. Because you can't really see anything. There's paper towels everywhere. Okay, hold on. Let me open this up. I then very carefully removed the lid and paper towels to expose the alien creature. Oh my gosh. Is this thing just gonna jump out at me? I have no idea. I'm just gonna close the glass though. Yeah, get that closed. Thank you very much. Now, at first, it was completely still, and actually, I couldn't even tell if it was alive. But eventually, I noticed signs of movement, and then soon enough, it fully started to climb out of its container. Very creepily, it slowly made its way over to a rock to go into hiding. But it wasn't just any rock. Of course, it was the rock with the alien statue on top. Bruh. Well. I told you guys this was an alien. Only an alien would go under the rock with an alien on top of it. But anyways, as I said at the start of the video, I'm gonna be pranking my mom with this thing. But before I do something like that, let's just see what it's capable of by trying to feed it something. I don't know. Let's just put some food in here though. And after doing some research, it turns out that tailless whip scorpions absolutely love crickets. And thankfully, I always have a bag of crickets. And immediately after putting them in, they actually all looked very happy. These stupid crickets really thought that this was their new home, and they were just going around eating moss. Well, little did they know that this home actually belongs to my tailless whip scorpion, and unfortunately for one of the crickets, it made a wrong turn. It walked straight into the crevice of the rock that the alien creature was sitting inside. I thought for sure that that cricket was a goner, but miraculously, about a minute later, it walked out the rock unscathed. A little later, I saw the alien creature in a different spot hanging onto a wall. And just like before, a cricket walked straight up to it. And in fact, this cricket was extra stupid. He started to walk right in front of the alien's literal mouth. Bruh. But for some reason, the tailless whip scorpion was not eating it at all.
Okay, it's the next day and I figured out why the alien creature in here isn't eating. It's because this species is partly nocturnal, and as you can see, I just have massive studio lights shining super brightly on here. I guess he just doesn't want to eat in the light. So anyways, I want to let this guy just kind of adjust to the new home for about a week, and I guess I'll just come back then and we can do the rest of the stuff.
In the meantime, here's this cool video by Aquarimax Pets of the same species eating, if you're wondering what that looks like. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyways, let's get back to the content.
Okay, this is the absolute best part of the video because I'm gonna show my mom this alien creature and then I'm gonna prank her. And if you're wondering how I'm gonna prank her, just take a look at this thing. It's basically a one-on-one model of the tailless whip scorpion. And yeah, I'm basically just gonna throw it at her. She is not gonna be happy. But anyway, she's not home right now, so I guess I'll just cut to when she is and we'll show her this. Okay, you can come in. All right, so I just got a new pet, and I just want to show you it. Okay. Now come stand over here, and you can try and tell what it is. I just want you to guess what kind of pet I got.
Oh my gosh, it looks super cool. Where's it at?
Can you see anything in there?
I'm trying my hardest.
Okay, well, it's hidden behind this rock, but...
Shut up, dude.
Do you know what it is?
No.
If you look very
Wait a
closely
second.
back under that rock, there's something right there.
Oh my god, dude, I'm scared.
For some reason, she couldn't really see it, so I gently woke it up with a spatula, and here's her reaction.
Oh my god, dude! What the heck is this?
You see that?
Seriously?
You
No,
see that?
no, yeah, that's alien and mindfulness. Oh
It's an alien in
my
there.
goodness.
Anyways, I have this fog machine, so we can put some fog on it, and that's pretty cool.
That's super cool, but seriously, where did that come from?
I don't know, the space or something?
Space.
Okay, anyways, that's all I gotta show you. Do you think it's cool?
No, dude, it looks so freaking weird. Yeah, it looks like evil.
Well, it's a good thing you'll never have to see it again. Okay, bye.
Now that she had seen it and left, I got the one-on-one model out and put it on my hand. This is gonna be really funny.
Okay, could you come back in here? I just forgot to show you one thing.
Oh my god, dude! Dude,
You wanna say
Devin,
hello
no,
to it?
no, go away!
Yeah.
Such a joke, that's not even real.
Yeah, it's just a piece of
Oh
paper.
my god.
What do you rate it out of
Oh
10?
my gosh. Whew, I don't know, I'm still confused.
Okay,
Devin.
bye.
Okay, there are billions of lizards alive across the world, but out of all of them, one species stands out as unique.
What the hell, what?
Chameleons. You see, chameleons have the ability to be bred to have extremely rare color patterns, like a literal rainbow. But I just came across the rarest color variation that I have never seen before.
This beautiful red and blue chameleon that literally looks like a Nintendo Switch. Just to represent how rare this is, let's say there's a billion lizards on Earth and about 1,000 of those are a chameleon with this exact color morph. That would mean there is a 0.0000001% chance of this existing. And sure, it may cost $899, but this is gonna easily be one of my coolest pets ever.
And once I get it, I'll show off some special abilities of chameleons that many of you have probably never seen before. But it's gonna take a few days until it gets shipped out to my house. So in the meantime, I probably should build up an enclosure for the chameleon with everything it could possibly need to live an amazing life. And of course, to build that, I'm gonna need the giant 120-gallon terrarium and hundreds of dollars worth of supplies. But to start the build, the only thing we actually need is some dead leaves and bark. You see, to make the floor for a chameleon, you don't want to use normal materials like dirt. This is because chameleons have these special tongues that when they're shot out, they'll pick up stuff like dirt on the floor and eat it, which will make the chameleon sick. Yeah, I don't want that to happen. So even though this floor is super simple, it's actually perfect. But of course, the rare Nintendo Switch chameleon I'm getting is gonna need a lot more than this in its enclosure. Yeah, this is just definitely not enough. So for step number 2, I got a whole bunch of wooden branches. Now, as you can see, I installed these 2 metal bars going across the enclosure, which I'll start by covering in the branches I have. I made sure to make the branches reach all along the top of the enclosure, the bottom, the sides, and literally everywhere. And after they were secured in place with zip ties and foam, I covered up most of that ugly stuff with some moss and leaves. So it doesn't look like a 5-year-old made this anymore. I also got a bunch of these vine things, which are basically these long bendable rubber sticks that recreate the look of jungle vines, and they curve all around the enclosure.
Okay, if I'm being honest, this does look a little bit cluttered and messy right now. But trust me, coming up in this video, I got some stuff planned that's gonna make this, actually look good and be an actually good enclosure.
And plus, all these branches and vines are actually very necessary to allow the chameleon to climb and swing around the entire enclosure. And don't worry, guys. guys, because I'll be getting plants to cover up these big ugly foam things in the corner. Speaking of plants, I should probably put some in here since that's the next step to finishing this amazing home.
All right, so obviously I've got plants now, but you'd be stupid if you think I'm just gonna put these straight into the enclosure. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm going to make these plants way, way better.
And what I mean by that is I'm gonna make them look extra cool with some animal safe red and blue paint. Yeah, I'm gonna paint these plant pots to be the same color as the chameleon I'm getting. I don't know why, I just think it'll look cool, okay? Yeah, I did this on every plant pot, it took forever. But after letting the paint dry for a few hours, I started to scatter the plants along the floor and sides of the enclosure. And in no time, I was done.
And check this out. This looks, I mean, it looks all right. I mean, the plants and everything look fine, but maybe the blue and red pots were not the best idea. The paint kind of started to fade. It's not even blue anymore, but it's still pretty funny, and I bet the chameleon's gonna like to see some of the stuff of his same color. So, anyways, I gotta get to the next step. Let's just go to the next step right now. Let's go to the next step.
Okay, anyways, on the to-do list, there's 2 more steps to make this a chameleon dream home, starting with some basic technology. And what this means is I've got a bunch of technology like this light bulb, which is necessary, but to be honest, it's nothing special. This light bulb in specific generates heat, and as you can see right in the basking spot under the heat lamp, it reaches up to 90 degrees, which is perfect. And of course, in a cooler part of the enclosure, it reaches about 70 degrees, so the chameleon won't get too hot or nothing. You know, we don't want the chameleon to get heat stroke. And finally, I set up a simple water misting system, which, you know, you just press a button and it starts spraying water all around the enclosure. Yeah, pretty simple, but it's very necessary. But another basic technology you need is a long UVB light bulb, which recreates the same UV rays the sun does. And basically, this lets the chameleon get vitamin D or something. Okay, well, now that the boring technology is over, let's get some fun, custom, advanced technology in this enclosure. At the start, I got this big, cool blue thing. So I bought this egg-looking one, which I had an idea for how I could use in the chameleon enclosure. So I pressed a button to open it up, and inside was, this thing.
What the heck is this? Okay, I guess inside there's a Mr. Beast toy that makes that annoying noise. Well, I don't really know what I was expecting, but I guess let me just put this inside the chameleon enclosure, and there we go. If you're wondering why I put this in here, well, I was just thinking I want to give the chameleon a nice friend, and, you know, this is kind of animal looking thing, so, okay, I'm sorry, this is stupid. Let's just go to the next technology.
And now next on the to-do list, this one is even cooler than the last.
All right, so for the second thing I'm adding in here, basically, I just wanted to make it look more like a home. And as you know, most homes have paintings around their house because that's just what homes have. So I'm gonna add my own custom painting inside of here.
And to get the custom image made, I asked AI to make a picture of a red and blue chameleon wearing a suit.
And, oh, look at this. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Wait, okay, we're gonna put this painting inside the chameleon's home. Oh, this is gonna be pretty cool.
So I drove to the printing store and printed the image out, hoping no one around me would see me getting these stupid looking paintings.
Bruh. And there we go. Check it out. This looks pretty. I mean the painting looked kind of cool, but I don't really know why I added this either. It's a little useless, but anyways, this entire enclosure is actually pretty much finished. I don't know anything else I can add to it, so I guess it's just time to add the rare red and blue chameleon inside. Let's just cut to then. So as you can see, I got the lizard right here, and I don't know what I'm doing outside. I should probably just go put him in the enclosure.
So I opened up the package and immediately was amazed by its beauty.
Oh my gosh, this thing looks super cool. Okay, wait, this is easily gonna be my coolest looking pet.
The only thing to do was open the lid and let it crawl out when it was ready. And of course, it went straight to doing its stupid chameleon dance.
Well, what the hell, what?
Now, as you can see, the colors on it right now are sort of darker than what they should be. And that's because currently it's a bit stressed from just getting out of the shipping container. Coming up, I'll be explaining exactly how chameleons change color and why by showing you guys this rare lizard. But for now, I want to show the amazing ability that chameleons have to hunt prey from literally across the enclosure.
So, yeah, that's what I'm going to be feeding him today.
So I waited a few hours before putting any crickets in to allow the chameleon to adjust to his new home. And as you can see, soon enough, his color started to brighten up, and that means he's ready to hunt.
Come on, crickets, get out, get out. There we go. Yeah, get out.
I put a few of the crickets inside, and at first, they sort of just started to mind their own business, just walking around looking for food, you know. But little did they know that they are about to become food for this guy.
Hi, how are you?
Now, the first ability chameleons have for hunting is their eyes. As you can see, both of his eyes are able to move in different directions, constantly scanning everywhere around him, in front and behind at the same time. And it wasn't long until the chameleon set one of his eyes on one of the little crickets. He started to move into attack position very slowly. Yeah, chameleons are so slow, they're basically sloths. Yeah, whenever this chameleon was within a couple feet of a cricket, it locked onto the target and shot its tongue directly towards it. And because the tongue is so sticky, it just brought the cricket in with it so it could enjoy a nice, tasty meal. And after seeing how cool it was when the chameleon, and while this cricket thought he was safe, little did he know what was about to happen. Chameleon's second ability, their insane tongue that's over a foot long. Hunted, I got a funny idea.
Okay, you see this cricket here? I'm gonna get this onto my hand like that. And then I'm literally gonna try and feed the chameleon from my hand. You can see it's right there. It just jumped off. Okay, take two. We're gonna put this right next to the chameleon's mouth. And there we go, that's the perfect spot. Eat it, bro. Eat it. I wanna see this thing eat from my hand so bad. It's literally right in front of you. Hello? You're just gonna watch it? It's crawling all around my hand. You have the perfect opportunity. And you're not doing it. And okay, I think the chameleon's just walking away at this point. I guess he doesn't really want to eat from my hand. I'm sorry, cricket, but I'm just gonna... You're gonna get eaten.
Anyways, I should probably name this rare chameleon. And like I said earlier, this thing has the exact same colors as a Nintendo Switch. So I'm gonna name my chameleon... Switch. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty creative name, I know. Anyways, now I'm gonna show you guys exactly how chameleons change color, and it might actually be pretty surprising, changing colors. And while this viral video is actually very cool to watch, it is completely fake. Yeah, chameleons can't actually control their colors like that, and in reality, they only have the ability to become slightly darker or slightly brighter. This happens because there's super tiny cells in their skin that can get bigger or smaller depending on certain conditions like heat. You see, when I first put Switch in the enclosure, he immediately ran up to the heat lamp and sat under it, which made his color change to be way brighter. Anyway, Switch is very cool, and I've only just scratched the surface of chameleon care. I might even end up doing another video where I breed Switch and another rare female chameleon to get an ultra rare chameleon.
I've seen videos of ants doing insane things to survive, like in this one where they built a boat out of their bodies to survive a flood, or in this one where they built a dangling bridge out of their bodies to attack a wasp nest. So I was wondering, if I put my 1,000 ants into obstacle courses, will they do similar things to complete them, or are my ants just not that smart?
Well, I just spent hours gathering 1,000 ants out my old ant nest, so I feel like this is the perfect opportunity to put these guys up. Like, the floor is lava, and thankfully I already have it built right here.
This is the final obstacle, and you may be wondering, bruh, TerraGreen, where's the lava? Well, the lava is these strips of red on the floor right here. You see, these are actually extremely sticky pieces of tape, and if the ants try to walk on them, well, they're gonna get stuck, of course. So if the ants want to get to the strawberries that I put at the end of the obstacle, they're gonna have to use one of the 3 tools I provided for them to figure out how they can maybe cross this lava. Or maybe they'll make a crazy bridge out of their bodies to cross it. Who knows?
Anyways, I wanted to make sure most of these guys actually participated, so I spent the past few hours individually picking up each of the ants from the ant nest and transporting them into this container, or at least as many as I can get. The rest are kind of under there. That way, they could be easily transported. But before pouring these guys in,
I wasted no time and I just dumped the ants straight in. If you can't tell, I actually changed the design of the obstacle a little bit, because if you remember that red tape, well, I actually replaced it with an even stickier and thicker kind of tape to make sure these ants wouldn't be able to just walk across. Anyways, let's see how they do. As you could probably guess, lots of the ants immediately went up to the tape and partially got stuck in the front. But don't worry guys, I'll be watching the ants throughout this obstacle, and any of the ants that looks like they get super stuck in the middle, I'll be picking up with these tweezers and moving back to the start so they don't get stuck in here permanently and hurts. Anyways, to actually cross this tape, like I said earlier, I gave these ants different tools, like a pile of dirt, some pieces of string, and even some wood chips to see if they'd be smart enough to actually use these things to their advantage to cross the piece of tape. And while it may look like the ants are not using the tools here, if you look very closely down here near the dirt, they've actually already started to push this pile of dirt onto the tape to make a little bridge that they could walk onto. If they keep building up this bridge, they would actually be able to cross this with no problem whatsoever. But right when I was filming this, I actually noticed that an ant had actually been walking across the tape and somehow had made it extremely close to the end. Yeah, I have no clue how this ant just managed to ignore the stickiness of this tape. I guess his legs were just extremely strong or something, because he got all the way to the end where he had a bit of trouble pulling himself off the tape, but eventually he was able to do it, and wow. Well, this ant just technically passed the obstacle.
Oh my gosh, bro. I didn't even see this ant, but I mean, he just passed the obstacle. I guess that's fair and square. Good job, bro. Why is it the past 3 obstacles, it's been a single ant that's clutched it up for the entire colony? But anyways, I gotta get all these guys off the tape so they aren't hurt at all.
So yeah, I got them all picked up into a container and transported them back to their nest safely.
All right, because you guys beat it, I'm gonna give you this piece of the strawberry. These ants are gonna have to break into a vault. Yeah, like a robbery, basically.
Yep, you heard that right, a vault. For this obstacle, I literally built up a DIY bank vault from scratch out of paper that I knew the ants would probably be able to break into. You can see, it's pretty good. Sort of looks like a real vault. And anyways, it's cool because the door actually opens, so I could fill this bank vault with an absolutely insane amount of seeds. Yeah, I put so many seeds in here.
Because yeah, apparently seeds are this species of ants' favorite food, so they should absolutely swarm this thing. But I got this hot glue gun so I could seal this vault door shut, because I gotta make this actually a kind of hard obstacle. So let me just go and put some glue on here. Oh yeah, just like that. All right, the vault is completely sealed shut with glue now, so let's see if these ants can actually get the seeds out of it. This is going to be very interesting to watch.
So yeah, I just put it in, and as you can imagine, the 1,000 ant colony immediately started to climb onto it. Especially when things are put into colonies' nests, they need to investigate it to make sure it's not a threat. And with this, I think they pretty much immediately knew it wasn't a threat, because none of them were biting it or anything. And actually, a lot of them were just using it as an opportunity to climb out of the enclosure. That's not good. But yeah, the vault right now is pretty sealed shut, and I don't even think the ants knew that there were seeds inside of here. So nothing really eventful happened, to be honest.
Okay, this is not exactly going to plan. I'm just gonna take this box and put it in there. Oh, hopefully I didn't crush any ants. Okay, and then let me scoop up all the ants that fell off.
So yeah, I got all those fallen soldiers back into the nest, of course.
Well, that didn't exactly work so well, but I kind of knew it wasn't gonna work so well, so that's why I came equipped with this stuff. See, basically, it's a cup of water and a big cup of sugar, which I'm gonna pour into the water. Then basically, I can mix the water and sugar around to make sugar water, which ants love the smell and taste of. And using this paintbrush, I actually just wanna go and paint our vault with it. And basically, this will make the vault not only taste like sugar, but it will also just make it kind of soggy since it's made out of paper, and it should make it able so the ants can chew through it and stuff and get to the seeds.
So yeah, I absolutely just soaked this vault in the sugar water, and without wasting any time, I got this thing in the nest. All right, ants, let's see how you do this time. And oh boy, were things a lot more interesting this time around, because right away, tons more ants were way more interested. You can see how after the ants would walk onto the vault, they would just completely stand still. That's because they were putting their mouth up to the paper and were just completely licking all the sugar off the paper. Yeah, this is not really what I had in mind. I thought this was gonna make them want to completely chew through the paper, not lick it. But yeah, so many ants got their fair share of the sugar. However, I didn't see a single ant even trying to find or even acknowledge that there were seeds inside of here. Well, that was until this moment. When you see this hole here, well, just out of nowhere, an ant just came up to it and walked into the hole. And yeah, there was just an ant inside of this vault with the absolute jackpot of seeds. I don't know how this hole got here. I guess maybe the sogginess from the sugar water made it droop or something. But wow. That is crazy.
Oh my gosh, wait, I think the ants just completed the obstacle. Let me get all the excess ants off this safe real quick.
And yeah, once the extra ants had fallen off, I cut open the vault to see if that ant had actually made it inside. And as you can see, he absolutely had made it inside. Oh my gosh, bro, your colony has no clue how much you just clutched up for them.
Wait, imagine if this is Anthony, that same ant that beat the obstacle course. That would be insane, but I mean, I don't know if this is the same ant. But anyways, W ant.
So yeah, I just went and poured the entire vault's loot pile onto the 2D ant nest, and well, the ants have been rewarded with the absolute motherload of food up to this point. Well, it's this thing. Yup, the ants will have to walk across this extremely narrow tightrope over a pit filled with fire and flames.
Oh, I gotta put that out. Oh, yep, put that out. Get up. Are you gonna go out?
No, I'm just kidding. That would be crazy. These are literally my pets. I would never do that. But I will be trapping the ants down here if they fall by lining the walls of this pit with this super slippery liquid stuff called Fluon. I know you can't really see this stuff since it's invisible, but basically when an ant tries to walk up on here now, it'll just slip off completely. Yeah, this stuff is super slippery.
And you guys are about to see why this challenge gets so interesting in a second. But if you look over at the 2D ant nest, you'll actually see I have a little hole here plugged up with some paper towels. And if you also look here, I got some tubing, meaning I can connect this to the obstacle. So yeah, let's just get this obstacle started. Come on, ants, let's get in here.
Immediately after plugging in the tubing, obviously ants noticed and started walking in. I mean, there's 1,000 ants. You can't even get away from them for a second. So that's what makes these obstacles fun, because it only took like 10 seconds till our first ant entered the tightrope of doom tank. Now, to pass this obstacle, the ants quite literally just need to get one of these pieces of insect legs back across the tightrope, which I think might be impossible, but let's see how they do. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the ants started off with some pretty lackluster performance because our first ants that made it to this tightrope didn't actually walk onto it. They kind of just walked around it on the corner of this platform where they just ended up just slipping off. Yeah, come on guys, what are you doing? But we got 1,000 ants, so I was expecting at least one of these ants to eventually step onto this tightrope. But as tons more ants started to walk into this room, yeah, they kind of all just did the same exact thing. And the pit started to get absolutely filled up with tons of ants.
Come on, ants, what are you doing? No, I'm just kidding. I think this is actually my fault, and to make them walk across the tightrope, I just gotta fix something. Let me show you how to fix it.
Basically, what I did was first of all, tape 2 extra pieces of string to the tightrope to make it a bit thicker so the ants would feel safer when they walked on it. And also, I rubbed this insect jelly food on the tightrope to make the bridge smell like jelly. And yeah, hopefully this will make them want to walk on it. Now, this worked exactly how I wanted it to, because within the first minute, our first workers actually started to walk onto the tightrope and explored it, just very slowly. But over time, more and more ants started to walk onto it, and it was actually kind of funny because sometimes the ants would literally just be hanging from each other's legs because there would just be way too many on the tightrope at the same time. Dang, these ants aren't very good at saving their friends. But it didn't take long for our first brave ant to actually make it to the end of this tightrope. That wasn't even half of the challenge, because now, if you remember, the ants actually got to pick up one of these insect legs and bring them back across the tightrope. And this ant clearly wasn't looking too interested in that, because yeah, he was just completely ignoring them. So I kept waiting until some more ants made it to the side by crossing the tightrope. And surprisingly, one of the ants that made it actually did seem interested in the legs, because he went up to one of them and actually started to bite it. But if you couldn't tell, this leg is kind of way too big for this worker to carry it all by himself, and for some reason, even after tons of ants made it onto this side, none of them came to help this poor worker move the leg. But this worker had a mission. He knew he needed to take a leg back to the colony, so what he did was he went up to one of the smaller insect legs that he could actually carry by himself, and he actually picked it up and started to walk. Yep, yeah, it wasn't super efficient or anything, but theoretically, he could pass this obstacle for the entire colony if he played his cards right. And played his cards right, he did, because I'm not joking, he walked straight over to the tightrope, and he might have had an extremely close call where he almost fell off, but somehow he managed to save himself, and then the ant actually started to walk across the tightrope with an insect leg in his mouth.
Oh my gosh, guys, this is genuinely so insane. I am rooting for you, bro. I mean, you got a long way to go, but guys, the ants were doing so awful up to this point. You can see how many fell into the pit of doom. Bro, this dude, he's just an absolute killer.
Yup, literally none of the 1,000 ants decided to help this dude. He was doing this entirely solo. And so he kept on marching, completely ignoring any ants that were in his way. And this dude made it all the way to the end of the tightrope, where he then walked onto the platform to complete the obstacle. Oh my gosh, this ant is insane. Seriously, I gotta name this guy. I think I'm gonna name him Anthony. And we're probably never gonna be able to find Anthony again since all the ants look the same. But seriously, everyone spam some W's in the comments for Anthony. That was so insane.
And since these guys beat the obstacle, I'm gonna give them the insect's legs as a prize. Thanks, Anthony. Hopefully you guys enjoy.
Obstacle number 1 is this thing. Basically, what we do is put some massive dead insect food at the bottom, and then we fill it with a bunch of sand to turn it into one of those 2D ant nests. Basically, we'll be able to watch the ants dig out all sorts of tunnel systems in here, and if they actually find the insect food I hit at the bottom, then they'll pass the obstacle and move on to the next obstacles that get harder and harder as the video goes on.
All right, let's not waste any time, and well, let's just do this. Wow, that is very satisfying watching 1,000 ants fall in here. Okay.
Now, of course, immediately, the ants all just started to try and climb the walls of the top area to try and escape. But surprisingly, many of the ants were already starting to dig down that center 2D part of the nest.
Oh my gosh, this is happening so fast. Wait, is there already progress on the side of the tank? Oh, I just put these guys in literally like 45 seconds ago. And they've already dug like half an inch down in. What?
Yep, and if you check out this time-lapse footage, you can see just how quickly they were getting work done. They literally work like mini drills to dig these tiny tunnels through the sand. But in reality, it's a tiring and grueling process where each individual grain of sand has to be picked up from a worker underground, brought all the way up to the surface through this little hole, and then dropped off at this pile of sand over here. Now, while I was recording this, it was actually getting pretty late in the day, so I decided to turn off the lights and came back the next day to see the progress made. And guys, the next day I came back to the ant nest looking like this. Yeah.
Bro, what? It's been literally like 8 hours. How did these ants build an entire intricate nest?
And not only were all these intricate tunnel systems made, but remember those dead insects I placed at the bottom as food? Well, it's safe to say that ants found those too, and it looks like the whole colony had swarmed them and had already started to devour them. And since they got to the insects, that technically means they passed this first obstacle. Congratulations, guys. It happened so fast, I literally didn't even capture that on camera.
Oh,
I have no idea what condition the one I'm gonna get is gonna be in, but I want to do my part to help. Hopefully we'll still be able to save it. Let's add this to the cart. And of course, I paid extra for 1-day delivery, so this axolotl didn't have to spend any extra time in this box.
oh, I really hope this axolotl's okay. Okay, there's ice packs. That's a good sign. It's packaged well. Now for the moment of truth, let's see this axolotl.
The axolotl was alive, and so I quickly brought it over to this temporary tank so I could put her inside and get a better look. She was a beautiful black axolotl, almost 10 inches long, meaning this thing was fully grown.
Now I actually went and emailed the people I bought this from, and they told me when they got it, this axolotl was found at a pet shop. And when they got it, it had these massive white spots on it and even a chunk of its tail missing.
But axolotls are amazing because they're one of the few animals that are able to regrow limbs literally from nothing. It's insane. And this girl had already made a substantial amount of progress in healing her tail, as you can see.
But they also said that she's not fully recovered yet, and they said to add this chemical called a stress guard, which I have right here, as you can see. And yeah, basically this stuff will add a little bit of a slime coat to the axolotl's skin and help it recover even faster in this temporary tank.
So it's my goal to get this axolotl fully thriving again by the end of the video, and while we wait for the stress guard to take effect, let's build its dream home. Which every axolotl tank of course starts with the floor, which we'll start by adding in a layer of this aqua soil that will give the proper nutrients to all the cool plants we're gonna add in here. Then we're gonna cover that with a layer of sand so the soil won't make the water dirty at all.
But for this build, I've got these. Like a bunch of black crystal rock stuff that I can just go and scatter all over the sand.
Obviously, our rescue axolotl has this unique dark color. So for this whole enclosure, we're gonna be matching that theme as much as I can. As you can see, I got super small black rocks that are almost like sand, medium-sized pebbles, and even large stones, which adds a ton of variety all over the sand. Very nice. But now the tank needs some big rocks, and as you can see, I've got a few different types. But the choice of which to use is clear. You see, axolotls have super delicate skin that can easily scrape on stuff, and especially our rescue axolotl cannot afford to get scraped while he heals. So I'm going to use the smoothest stones here with no rough edges, which I put a few of those on the side, and I also got out some of these pieces of wood and kind of played around with them to see which style I liked most, and I ended up deciding on this with the two long pieces of branches on the two sides. But as you can see, I've kept the middle of this enclosure completely empty. That's because secondly, I'm going to be building an axolotl cave, which yes, will literally be a cave that looks like an axolotl's head, which, well, I mean, that's the plan at least. I don't know how well it's gonna go.
And building this for the axolotl is gonna be perfect because in the wild, they absolutely love dark sheltered areas because it keeps them safe from predators. And I guess caves are made out of rocks, so I'll just start kind of stacking them around here. I bought a bunch of rocks, as you can see.
And after measuring how wide the cave was gonna be, I decided to build it outside of the tank to make it easier. Basically, the plan is we line up the rocks in a kind of circular shape, and then we get out some spray foam and, well, we just start spraying to connect them all. Yeah, I love spray foam foam so much because it's so useful for all of my aquarium builds. Anyways, I continued to stack the rocks up more and more with spray foam till it ended up looking sort of like the shape of an axolotl head. We got the mouth as the entrance to the cave. Then I put on some giant googly eyes to, obviously be the eyes. And finally, axolotls, of course, have these little hairy things coming out of the side of their head. These are actually the axolotl's gills, which let it breathe, which obviously we had to put on this cave. So I got some of these dark red pipe cleaners and kind of just stuck them on the side of the rocks.
All right, but as you can tell, this is obviously a little bit tacky. I mean, the spray foam is basically like a different color than the rocks. So that's why I'm gonna add some paint. And don't worry, I double checked to make sure this is aquarium safe once it dries. The last thing we need is paint toxicity for our injured axolotl.
So yeah, I went and carved off all the excess spray foam and painted the parts that I thought would make it look better. And anyways, here is the final axolotl cave. And as you can tell, it's basically a one-on-one replica of our axolotl. So I went and put it inside, and well, boom, it is done.
But you see, the coolest thing about this axolotl cave is if we go off and turn off, all the lights, the eyes glow in the dark, kinda. It's not even that dark in here. If it was pitch black, this would be kind of scary to be looking at night, I'm not gonna lie.
Anyways, before the rest of the build, you're probably wondering how the axolotl is doing. Well, she's actually doing really good. It's been about 8 hours since putting her in here, and you can tell she was being way more active, walking around thanks to that stress guard.
But I've been doing even more research of how to heal the axolotl, and a lot of people are saying to use Indian almond leaves in the water. I didn't even know what those were, but I went out and bought some, of course. Whatever I can do to give the axolotl his best health, I will do. And I guess you just put them inside like that, and then just mix it around. Okay.
Immediately, you can see the leaves provided a little bit of cover above the axolotl, which probably helps her feel safer, but it also starts to slowly turn the water a cloudy tea color. Basically, this is because the leaves are spreading this thing called tannins around into the water, which is just some natural thing that helps the axolotl skin get even healthier. Nice.
And if you didn't already know, axolotls literally don't need any sort of land area in their tanks.
Which, of course, while that goes into effect, the next step for the tank is DIY decorations. And this time, I've got a really good plan. I got a brick and chisels again. Yep, a couple videos ago, I tried to make a fish statue by carving it out, and it looked super good and super realistic, as you can see.
Well, one of you guys commented saying I should make an axolotl statue, so let's see how this goes.
So first of all, I sketched out how it was gonna look, and this time I got out a professional carving kit. And yep, I don't know what any of these tools do, but I immediately got to work. Once again, I refused to watch any sort of tutorial on how to properly do this, and that might have been reflected in my work quality because this stone was way harder to carve out than the one before. And even this is super sped up. If you see the real speed of how slow I was going, you could probably understand how painful this was. So I decided to just call it finished here.
All right, check it out. As you can see, it is absolutely, it's really good. This could easily belong in the museums besides the other greatest works of art. Actually, guys, I'm just kidding. This looks like the stupidest caveman tried to draw a lizard on the side of his cave. It's not very good. Hey, it was still kind of fun to build, so I'm just gonna plop that right there. And if you think my sculpting work is super good, go ahead and leave a comment saying what I should build next. I might try one more, and I don't really know if it's gonna go too well.
I also put on some googly eyes because, of course, everything needs googly eyes to look good. I'd love for the plants in here to match the black theme, but unfortunately, black plants mean dead plants. So I'm gonna have to stick to some old-fashioned blue plants. I mean green plants. They don't have blue plants. So you already know the drill. I drove to Petco, pretty much bought out their entire stock. By the way, sorry to anyone that needs to get plants here after I visit. I always buy all the good ones. And I brought them back home. Now, for some reason, I forgot to click record on my camera during the planting process. But just imagine this is what it looked like. I took the plants, put them in the sand, and I did that with all of them. Yep, pretty revolutionary stuff. Then I filled it with cycled water, which I also forgot to record, but by the end, it looked like this.
But it's this thing. It's a circular air bubble maker, and it should give oxygen to this whole tank.
I was just gonna go and put it inside, but I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wanted to see what it looked like in action before we filled up the tank. So I put it in this temporary one and check it out. Oh yeah, look at the bubbles. I don't know why every time I put one of these in my tanks, it makes me excited. And yeah, I kind of was just playing around with it a little bit too much, watching the bubbles go in weird directions. Anyways,
which I've got right here. And I'm gonna go and hang it right above the tank so I always know what's inside of here.
So don't worry, to follow the outline of this picture. To make the drawing on the plaque, I first drew the pattern out of pencil, and if I thought any part looked bad, I erased it and redrew it. And by the end, the outline was pretty similar to the one on my phone. And don't worry, I know you can barely see this, so in order to actually engrave it into the plaque, I now had to use this wood burning thing. Basically, the end of this pen is like a bajillion degrees hot, and it literally burns the pattern into the wood. It's kind of like what I did in my camouflaged mantis video when I made the sticks black, but yeah, just much more controlled, and it didn't take too long to finish it all up. I even went and wrote what I was gonna name the axolotl at the top of the plaque. Yep, I'm naming it Black's the Axe. Axolotl in parentheses, because obviously it's a black axolotl. I feel like that name fits and it rhymes. Black's the axe. Anyways, let's hang this up. So I went and hung it above the tank. It's time to get the axolotl inside and do tons of other fun stuff with him to give him the best life after being injured. Oh, Blacks, I got some good news for you. I don't know if you've ever been in a proper enclosure, but what I'm about to add you to definitely is. So I brought my new friend over to the enclosure and let him free. Immediately, he was already super active, exploring around the whole thing, which was a good sign. But I'm gonna be obviously doing more than just watching this guy. I have all these fun things that I want to test with this guy real quick. And the first one is food. Let's test 3 different food sources. They're axolotl pellets. I have a feeling that he's not gonna like eat it as fast as those worms. That was like literally under a second, but let's try. Now this time, let's just say the axolotl wasn't too interested because it took seconds before she even did anything. But she did end up putting her nose right up to the pellet to figure out what was in front of her. You see, axolotls have pretty bad eyesight, so they usually rely on their nose to scope out stuff. And here, after giving the pellet a very, very thorough sniff, she eventually took a bite at it, tasted it in her mouth for like a second, and ultimately spat it back out. Okay, I guess she doesn't like pellets. Hey, some like freeze-dried bloodworms. Yeah, let me unpackage these. The goal is to see how quickly Blacks will eat each food source to see which she likes the most. And well, with these bloodworms, she was actually pretty interested, because after like a second, she saw them and snapped, but she missed them. So she tried another attempt at eating them and failed again. But finally, she did actually get a hold of the rest of the worm, and boom, that only took like 10 seconds. Yeah, and she also looked so cute and happy after eating that. Dang, she must have been hungry. All right, these are proper earthworms, basically. Yeah, let's see how long this one takes. And this time, the axolotl must have set a world record because it only took a little over 1 second for her to get a hold of this worm and start devouring it. I mean, let's get an instant replay on that. Nah, look, she was ready for that worm, and yep, she was even happier after having this in her mouth because it must have tasted spectacular. Okay, this is good knowledge. I know to stick with the worms now. Anyways, about 10 minutes later, I noticed Blacks had walked herself into the axolotl cave that I'd built for her. Seems like she was just gonna chill in here for a bit. Hey, I'm glad she's liking it and using it. Now for the final thing I want to test with the axolotl that's currently in the cave is, well, a GoPro. Yep, I've got a GoPro that I'm gonna stick underwater and do some fun stuff with it. All right, click record and let's switch to this camera, baby. Okay, I'm gonna start going underwater. And yeah, after getting it to the bottom and kind of just sticking it inside the cave, you can see the axolotl's body was actually right here. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see since the axolotl matches the color of the rocks, but yeah, she was just chilling in here. To see if I could lure her out, I actually went and picked up some more of her favorite food, which is the worms, of course. At first, I was kind of just waving them around in there, but she didn't really see them. Well, that was until this, when I put the worm a little deeper in, and just like that, the axolotl took it straight from my grip and was now devouring it. Yep, Blacks will never pass up on the opportunity to eat a nice juicy worm, and she was not letting me grab it back, so I decided to just let her have it. Anyway, this is a $100,000 two-headed snake that literally has a different personality in each head, and I'll be showing you why this is the most expensive snake on earth, along with a $25,000 largest snake in the world. And guys, it's the two-headed snake. There's only a handful of two-headed snakes in existence, and this zoo doesn't only just have 1 or 2. They have 3 two-headed snakes. So I waited here for her to bring out one for me to see. Wow, wait, so this is the two-headed snake you guys have, right?
This is the two-headed snake.
Oh my gosh, she's not gonna bite me, right?
Nah, I don't know.
Oh.
Yep, literally instantly, this snake tried to bite me, which is kind of a surprise because this specific snake actually knows me. About a year ago, I visited the guy who originally hatched this snake, and I made a whole video about it. But this zoo literally bought it from him, and a lot has changed about this snake, and I'm gonna show you guys some very interesting stuff. So the thing that's so interesting about these two-headed snakes is they have like 2 different personalities, is that right?
Mm-hmm. They can, very much. There's usually a dominant and a non-dominant.
And we can see how that was instantly demonstrated with this left dominant head literally just pulling the right head along as it just sat there. But super interestingly, sometimes the 2 heads will almost almost fight in which direction they want to go, which causes the two-headed snake to just sit there, motionless, not moving at all. And here's some footage I recorded last year of this two-headed snake eating some mice. As you can see, both the heads struck at the mice at the same time, but only the left head was actually able to grab onto his mouse. And as that left head started to swallow, all of a sudden the right head decided to just grab on too, so now they were both eating the same mouse. But this could actually be bad for two-headed snakes, so the owner separated the heads, and he gave a separate mouse to the right head so they could both eat in peace. Pretty cool. Anyways, as you can see, this two-headed snake is quite a bit smaller. We got a $25,000 largest snake in the world.
You see, this species is called giant reticulated pythons, and they are absurdly big. And if you can't already tell, I probably don't have enough space right here. I would literally have to transform my whole garage into an enclosure.
That's why instead, to be able to see and learn about a $25,000 snake, I hopped on a plane and flew across the country to this amazing reptile zoo that supposedly has one of these insane snakes.
Yo, what's up? I just traveled across the country because I heard you guys got some of the craziest snakes here. Is that true?
We do.
Oh my gosh, you got to show me.
Okay, you want to see him?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's go.
So I followed her across the zoo, and this place was crazy. They had animals everywhere, including literal alligators.
Oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into?
But eventually, I got to this area here and waited while she brought out the $25,000 snake.
Oh my gosh, this thing is insane.
Yes, this is the giant reticulated python, an absolute beast of a snake. And honestly, I was kind of even scared to stand near it. This thing could easily take me out if it wanted to.
This is actually just kind of crazy to stand by. I can just touch it. Like, this is bigger than my hand. What? So how long can this species kind of get? I mean, like, is this like the longest species in the world?
Yeah, so they in the wild have been measured up to 30 feet.
Yep, imagine being outside and just seeing a snake over 30 feet long. I would instantly run away. But before we figure out the exact length of this specific snake, I wanted to try and hold it. But if you couldn't guess, it was insanely hard to do with just one hand because of this snake weighing a minimum of 150 pounds. But despite its massive size, you could tell the snake was being extremely friendly towards us and not biting us or anything. Very interesting.
So how long does it take for one of these snakes to get this long? Like,
It depends on how you feed them. But normally about 7 to 10 years, something like that.
so wow, this thing is 10 years old, and how small do they start? I mean, do you have like an egg or something? Like we can show how it hatched?
I actually do. Do you want to see it?
Yeah, let's go see
let's
that.
go see it.
So she brought me over here where they have tons of these trays full of eggs. Yeah, they keep them in these containers to make sure they have the perfect level of heat to hatch. Yeah, she showed me what one of them looked like, and it's just insane how a snake can hatch out of something like this, then eventually one day be this big. That's a massive size increase.
So yeah, what do they eat to get this big?
Well, I don't know if you're going to want to hear it. They eat about a 10-pound rabbit.
So they just eat giant rabbits. Like, how big would it be? Like, can you show with your hands?
It'd be like, it's a big size rabbit.
Oh.
Nah, so they really just slither around in the wild looking for innocent little rabbits, and then they pounce on it and absolutely devour it. Yo, rest in peace to any rabbits that see snakes like this. But you see, what makes this species so good at hunting is they literally have these built-in heat sensors on their face. All of these tiny little holes on the upper lip of the python can track exactly where a live prey is, which basically just gives them wall hacks to see rabbits amongst tall, thick grass. And this snake, compared to everyday objects, is pretty cool because here it is next to a massive spray bottle. It is so much bigger. Then here it is next to a water bottle. Yep, pretty big. But yeah, this thing curled up is approximately 56 inches long, but fully stretched out, this thing easily reaches over 20 feet. Let's see what a $500 snake looks like.
Now, we're getting pricey, but it's for a very good reason, as you'll see. But yeah, this snake was kind of just shipped in this bag. I feel kind of bad for it. Let me get this out really quickly.
Inside of this bag is a special kind of snake called a Woma python. And he was not happy about being in that shipping bag. He kept trying to strike at me through the glass. But you could see how beautiful this species is with that striped tan and orange color.
Okay, the reason I got this guy for the $500 species is because they're known for being one of the friendliest snake species. But this guy has tried to strike at me a lot. But yeah, I guess he's just super stressed from the shipping.
Obviously, I don't want this guy to be stressed or angry at me, so I put this box over the top to give him some nice darkness, and I went and put him in a secluded and warm part of my house while I built his home. Now I'm just gonna speed run this build in order to not bore you guys, but yeah, it's basically the same as that last enclosure, only this time I put way more wood and branches so the python would have some area to climb over. And these guys can get big, so that's why this enclosure is pretty massive.
Anyways, I got the snake right here. Let's give a check on him. How are you doing in there? And okay. If you don't know what the brown stuff on the floor is, well, it might be poop. But no, that's actually a super good sign, because if you didn't know, when the snakes are in their shipping containers, they don't go to the bathroom at all. But the fact he's just let it all out means he feels a lot warmer and safer now, and that's good. I'm happy you're feeling a little bit better, buddy.
And to make sure he felt even safer, I went and moved him into the enclosure. I still didn't really feel comfortable enough to hold him based off how much he wanted me dead. But yeah, pretty simple stuff. And he went to go slither to safety. He was definitely starting to feel less stressed.
All right, the main reason I wanted to get the friendliest snake species in the world is because, as many of you know, my mom is like scared of all the pets I get. So I was thinking this was gonna help her cure her fear of snakes. But little is she gonna know when we try to feed it, this guy, he's not so friendly right now. All right, Mom, can you come in the garage? Hi, I just got a new pet to show you today.
Okay.
So why don't you come over here and just take a look in this tank and tell me what you see.
Oh my gosh. What kind of snake is this?
That's called a Woma python, and I wanted to get this species because it is the friendliest species in the world,
Yeah,
actually.
right. It looks like it's crazy, like it's just gonna strike any second.
Yeah, he is kind of mad right now, but I want to cure your fear of snakes, basically. So I need you to feed it.
No.
All right, go ahead, stick it inside.
Shaking. All right, this is the first time you fed him too, right?
Yeah, he's super hungry. That's the main reason why he's so angry right now. All right, he's coming, he's coming. Come on, eat it. He looks hungry. You can see the hunger in his eyes.
Oh my gosh.
Are you scared right now?
Yeah, a little bit.
This is supposed to cure your fear, though. Make some mouse noises. Maybe you can trick him. Nice.
Yeah, this dude was taking a while to eat, but eventually we caught this.
Maybe he just like, don't drop it, but like move.
Oh my god, dude, we're closing this now. I'm gonna get a replay of that to see exactly what just happened because it was scary.
But it looks like he's going to hide in his little hide, so I don't want to stress him out anymore if he's not that hungry. So yeah, thanks for trying to feed him though.
But don't worry, literally as soon as later that day, this snake was feeling way more comfortable and he finally started to eat. Let's go, this is gonna be a sick pet.
And I specifically chose this species because it has an insanely unique special ability that I just have to test.
If you're wondering what species is inside this container, well, everyone, this is a Western hognose snake. And yep, it actually costed exactly $250. The prices in this video are not a lie. But anyways, these things are freaky because the patterns on their back almost look identical to the patterns on a rattlesnake. It has almost the same color too. But the main characteristic that makes this thing stand out is its nose. That, well, kind of makes it look like a hog, apparently. Hence why they are called a hognose snake. Pretty creative.
Now anyways, this thing is actually a real snake, unlike the $1 one, but that means we gotta build it another enclosure. Oh yeah, that was a pretty cool transition. But anyways, this will let us show off its special ability.
Now for the floor, we want to use a material called snake aspen, which is perfect for our $250 snake because it's super easy to dig and burrow through, which yeah, in the wild, these guys apparently like to do to stay protected from the intense desert heat. Then we want to add tons of decorations like the snake hide so the snake can slither inside. And yeah, even though this enclosure looks pretty barren and empty, that's exactly what the snake species prefers, so it can slither around a ton.
So yeah, basically the reason I wanted to get this species is because they're the drama queens of the snake world. They basically put on this crazy show to scare off any predator that gets near them.
But yeah, this guy was just non-stop hissing at me if you listen closely. So I decided to pick him up with tweezers and moved him to the new enclosure.
Okay, there we go. Jeez Louise, you are a feisty fella, Mr. Snake. But the thing is, I didn't even get to show off its coolest special ability yet. Let me try and do that.
Unfortunately though, before I could show you that, Snake decided it was time to go for a little burrow. Yep, like I said earlier, this is something they do to hide from the intense desert heat. This is not their main ability though, but it's just kind of cool to see that they can do this like our first one.
And yes, I actually do have a heat lamp that will recreate the desert heat. I just don't have it set up right now because it makes it easier to film without the roof on.
Anyways, I dug up the snake so I could show you guys its special ability.
First of all, why don't you take a look at his head?
If you look very closely, this snake's head has actually gotten like 2 times as big as it was before. They're actually able to puff out their cheeks when a potential predator is nearby to mimic a rattlesnake's head shape. It's also sort of similar to how cobras make their neck come out to look bigger.
But the main thing the snake does to not get eaten is it actually plays dead.
So while the snake slithered to darkness so he would feel safe, take a look at this footage of when this guy went up to a wild Western hognose snake and he started to put his hands near it. Almost instantly, the snake decided to play dead, so it flipped on its back and started to give the funniest performance I've ever seen. And eventually, it just stopped moving completely, and when this dude went to pick it up, you could see how good of an actor it is. It's so funny too, because every time he would flip the snake right side up, it would just flip back upside down instantly. Yo, shout out to Nicole Berry, he's the one who uploaded this, and he has tons of other videos like this. Anyways, I quickly finished setting up everything in his tank and gave him a little water bowl too. As a reward for scaring it a little bit while I was moving it, I gave it a nice juicy mouse. Yeah, pretty cool to watch these guys eat. They'll eat about one of these a week during this stage of life, all the way down to a literal $1 snake.
Yes, so this first snake I was actually able to buy for only $1. Just from some guy on eBay saying he just wanted it gone. But this snake inside is looking extremely weird. I gotta get a closer look at this.
So I opened up the container to reveal that my suspicions were correct. This thing looked extremely abnormal. It literally didn't have scales like a normal snake would, and in fact, it looked more like a mutant worm. But little did I know that these things have some of the scariest mouths out of any animal on Earth.
Yo, and this thing is like slimy. Is this even a snake?
Now, I was right to be suspicious, because when I went to scan a picture of this into Google, it told me that indeed it was not even a snake. It said that this is actually something called a giant Mexican Sicilian.
Yo, and it's saying this thing has some of the craziest hunting abilities. Oh my gosh, I just got to test this.
In order to see its special abilities, I quickly built this dude up a home. Google told me to use a bunch of moist dirt to make a deep floor area so the worm snake thing can dig around. Then I put some natural decorations around, and finally, these Sicilian creatures sometimes can be fully aquatic in the wild, but in captivity, all we need is this nice little water dish to fill its water needs.
Well, boys, let me get you in. Now, apparently, these things do have poisonous skin, which is why I'm using a snake hook. And well, now he's in there, let's see his special abilities he has.
Now, these guys' first special ability is, well, they love to dig in dirt, like I was saying earlier. You can see how quickly he just completely disappeared from sight. And well, while this guy settles into his new home, I just had to find some videos of this species hunting. And in this amazing video by Willipede, we could see how this Sicilian just slowly inches up to a mealworm, acting all innocent and stuff, but the second he gets within striking distance, it pounces onto the worm and instantly starts to drag it underground, where we can then see it finish off the mealworm down there. But the thing is, this Sicilian hunting is not even nearly the coolest thing in this video.
This is my harvester ant colony. Despite starting from a tiny little tube, over the past 30 days, the colony has expanded to an entirely new level. Over the month, I've documented their lifestyle, including them hunting, building shelter, eating, and more. I even introduced special predators and prey in order to simulate real-world scenarios in the wild. To understand how this all started, we gotta go back to day 1, where my entire colony was confined to a single tube. But while they may be small, they are already extremely powerful. To demonstrate this, I'm putting a live mealworm inside. The colony immediately went into defense mode, and the workers swarmed the worm. While half of the ants used their mandibles to crush the worm's exoskeleton, the other half gathered around the queen and larvae to protect them from the potential threat. Using their stingers, they injected a potent venom into the worm to paralyze it. The mealworm stood no chance. The colony was getting way too big for this tiny tube, and they were even trying to break their way out. So I figured now is a good time to expand them into a bigger home. This is a hybrid nest, and it's gonna be their new home. So I connected vinyl tubing, and soon enough, one of the ants started to walk towards the new nest. After discovering it, she traveled back to her home to tell the rest of the colony about the newfound land. And slowly, over the rest of the day, everyone moved into the nest. I let the colony get used to their new home for a few days, but by day 6, I was bored of just looking at the ants in a plastic nest. So I wanted to build their first real-world habitat with live prey and predators, a desert. For the build, I built up the substrate starting with a drainage layer, and then I added in a mix of sand and coconut fiber for the floor. I finally added in rocks, wood, and cacti to make it, you know, a desert. The desert was complete, so I connected the ants with another vinyl tube, and quickly a couple workers ventured into the uncharted territory. While the ants liked the desert, they had to be careful to avoid the deadly predators. Anyways, I wanted to add a desert-themed prey into this habitat to give the ants a solid protein source. So let me introduce you to Mexican jumping beans. These guys may just look like giant seeds, but in reality, they move. That's because inside of each of these beans is a little caterpillar that would eventually turn into a beautiful moth. But these caterpillars will not be turning into moths because the ants are going to eat them. Now, to be honest, I thought the ants would just swarm the jumping beans and dig their way into them, but in reality, they didn't really react to them. So I had to expose the juicy prey inside by cutting them open myself and putting them right next to some of the colony. And well, it's safe to say that the ants enjoyed the soft membrane caterpillars that they could split in half with their mandibles. Okay, that's actually pretty brutal if I'm being honest. The colony slowly started to build up their food supply at their home base with seeds and the caterpillars. And of course, the excess food led the queen to start laying more and more eggs. In order to give a reason for the colony to explore further into this desert, I sprinkled some of their favorite food around the habitat, dandelion seeds. And let's just say those seeds made the ants start swarming into the desert, and everyone was doing their part to take food back to the queen. But one of the ants traveled a little too far into the desert and came across this little pit. Thinking it was nothing, he made the worst decision of his life and walked into it. Something was attacking, and the ant could do nothing about it. You see, earlier that day, I had placed antlion larvae into the desert. These guys create little holes in the sand and wait for an unlucky ant like this guy to stumble in. But this ant wasn't going to die without a fight and grabbed on with his mandibles. The antlion was actually losing and didn't even have a grip on the ant. But the antlion was smarter and used his ability to burrow and pulled the ant under the sand, never to be seen again. So to prepare for all the new ants, I'm gonna build another entire habitat for the ants to explore with all the new predators and prey. So in this weirdly shaped terrarium, I'm building a rainforest. Honestly, it's a little complicated on how I built it, so I'm just gonna show you these sped up clips and there we go. I'm gonna first fill up this rainforest with some Kentucky bluegrass seeds. And then I've also got some flightless fruit flies for the ants to get even more food. Of course, where there's food, the ants will venture. And within a few minutes, the ants were swarming their new habitat. The flightless fruit flies were the perfect size for the ants to hunt. And literally single ants could bring them back to the nest. But this wasn't just a food-filled dreamland. There are predators here, and this ant is about to figure out the hard way. As I'm about to introduce a fierce predator into the rainforest. Something menacing with excellent eyesight and sharp venomous fangs. Everyone, please welcome Jeremy, my jumping spider. Aww. I haven't fed Jeremy in days, so I expect him to instantly start eating the ants. Wait, what? Okay, it turns out Jeremy is a little bit camera shy and just instantly went to hide in some plants. I tried to push him out so I could film him eating some of the ants, but he just went and hid at another place where I couldn't even see him. Well, Jeremy is in this rainforest, and when he does decide to come out, these ants better be careful. I'm going to create a sandstorm. So I brought over my hairdryer and turned it on. The sand started to fly everywhere, and the ants that were out exploring had to try their best to cling onto the grains of sand that they could. But over in the rainforest, fog had started to roll in, and a thunderstorm appeared out of nowhere. This rain will play a vital role in making sure the ant colony has enough water to sustain their entire colony. With one wrong turn, the ant makes its way towards a carnivorous Venus flytrap. The ant slightly stepped onto it, not knowing its life could end at any moment. Foolishly, it fell for the bait, as Venus flytraps produce a sweet nectar to attract insects. As the ant was busy inspecting the plant, the flytrap slowly started to close its mouth, leaving no chance of escape for the ant. You can see the ant slightly moving around inside, but over the coming days, the Venus flytrap will produce a type of acid that will dissolve the poor ant into nothing onto an intruder in their home nest. The intruder I'm gonna put in the nest is this dubia roach. So I removed the glass and put the roach in. Immediately, it crawled down to the bottom of the nest where there were no ants. Now, to be honest, I thought the ants would instantly start swarming the roach, but it took a few minutes before even the first ant had contact with it. The ant got super scared and fell on his back. But the roach was just as scared, and it ran all the way to the exit of the nest. He then crawled out into the desert outworld, never to be seen again. Thankfully, the queen was left unharmed, and the colony got to live another day. Over the past 30 days, the ants went from a tiny tube to a thriving nest with multiple ecosystems, although some of the ants were lost to predators. Apparently, there's this rare species of lizard that not only looks like a dinosaur, but acts just like one. The name of it is a frilled dragon, and it looks very deadly. But despite how dangerous it looks, I found this website that sells legal exotic animals, including this dinosaur, for $800. So yeah, basically I'm gonna buy this, build it at home, and try to keep it as a pet. And I don't know how hard that is gonna be, because as you've already seen, this thing is literally that thing's a demon. I mean, look at that. But anyways, let's just buy this thing. And in this video, I'll be judging how good of a pet a dinosaur actually is by doing stuff like taking it outside like a dog. Yeah, this video is crazy. But before any of that, I first have to wait for it to be delivered, which is going to take about a week. So in the meantime, let's build this thing its dream home with everything it could possibly want. And to do that, well, I've got a lot of stuff. I first put together the glass enclosure to build the dream home inside of. And anyways, now it's time to actually build the dream home, and to do that, there's 5 steps, starting with creating the background. To create the background, I sprayed a ton of foam all along the glass so I could stick a ton of wood to it. You see, I'm basically recreating a forest in here, since that's where frilled dragons live in the wild. And to complete the forest look, I covered it in a ton of dirt and wood chips so it'd look nice and natural, you know. As you can see, this tank is already looking very, very beautiful and natural with all that wood and dirt, but it's also looking a bit brown and lifeless too. So let's get to doing some more stuff, starting with the floor. Now, I know I was just complaining about everything being brown, but to make the floor, we do got to use some brown dirt. So yeah, the cheapest way to get a bunch of quality dirt is to use one of these compressed coconut fiber bricks, which may not seem like a lot of dirt, but if we add a huge tub of water to it, well, now it's a lot of dirt. Finally, I mixed in a bunch of other types of ground stuff, because that's what forest floors got, you know. All right, this is starting to look almost like a forest, but we're still missing some key things. So let's move on to step 3, plants and decorations. Now, first of all, I've got 2 different types of moss, which to start, I'll use carpet moss, which comes conveniently packaged in this box. Now, I always thought moss was just like dead grass or something, but it's actually an alive organism that over time is gonna grow and overtake the entire terrarium. Pretty cool. And I also spread a different type of moss around to add a little bit more variety in this tank. Now, this moss is absolutely fantastical. You know, it really brings the whole thing to life. But I'm gonna need way more plants if I'm gonna make this thing look like the dinosaur's actual habitat, which means I'm gonna go get some actual plants with leaves and flowers on them and stuff like that. Which, you know, I like Legos, so of course I bought some, baby. When I got home, I figured I should just build the Lego set real quick to see how those plants look. So I put that all together, and then I put each of the plants inside of the enclosure and check these out. Yo, this looks so cool. I'm just kidding, this actually looks pretty stupid. I don't know why I spent $50 on this. Get this trash out of here. Instead, I of course got out the plants I bought and planted them around the tank. There we go, this tank is starting to come together well now. But in order to complete the decorations, I need to add a huge piece of wood that goes diagonally from the bottom of the tank to the top of the tank, so that the dinosaur will be able to have easy access to the heat lamp that will be at the top. And this is the only wood I have right now. Definitely not enough to get to the top. So in order to get some more wood, I went outside to find some. Okay, so I basically just need to get some sort of branch that's nice and thick and long, and that's kind of too thin. I need something that's not going to snap under the pressure of the dinosaur, and yeah, that one kind of sucks too. But oh, this one actually looks pretty good. Look at this, my hand kind of wraps around it. That's good thickness. So I went inside and grabbed the biggest knife from my kitchen, and I got to sawing. This should only take like 30 minutes. I'll be done soon. Eventually, I was able to get this fantastical piece of wood that would work perfectly, so I quickly hosed it down to remove dirt and insects and stuff, and brought it back inside. After breaking it down so it would fit, I put it in place and covered the bottom with some more wood. And boom, the decorations are complete in here. But of course, I'm not just gonna leave the tank like this. We've got to first add in some technologies to make this the best enclosure ever. It's a water bowl. Yeah, so you know the dinosaur can get a drink of water and stuff. Now, even though I added in this amazing water dish, frilled dragons actually never drink from it. They actually just use it as a bathroom box, which is actually an automatic humidifier. You see, frilled dragons need the humidity in their enclosure to be pretty high, and basically this, well, you know, it humidifies the enclosure by spraying water everywhere. I got out this water pump, put it in a container of water, and linked it up with some tubing. Now, when I turn it on, it creates this nice little flow of water, which frilled dragons will actually drink from. Well, now, there's just one more thing to build before I add the frilled dragon in, and that is heat. And basically what that means is I need to recreate the sun in this enclosure. To do that, I got a heavy-duty heat lamp and an expensive top-quality UV bulb that recreates the same UV rays that the sun does. I also got another lamp with a high-intensity heat bulb because frilled dragons like it to be extremely hot in their homes. To test the temperature, I hooked up a thermometer, and as you can see, it reached up to 100 degrees in the basking spot, which is perfect. Finally, I put a bit of aluminum foil on top to keep the heat and humidity inside. Okay, well, the frilled dragon's home is now complete, and well, it's time to add it inside. And the next day, I got a notification on my phone saying the package was ready for pickup, so I drove out to FedEx. All right, so I just got back from FedEx, and I just picked up this box, which is probably the frilled dragon. I mean, it says live animal. Hopefully it didn't give me the wrong package. But anyways, I'm gonna take this thing inside and put it in the cage, and oh, there's some chickens right there. Bruh. I might gotta show these guys to the dinosaur. They're gonna be good friends. But before I do anything like that, let's just start by opening up this box.
Oh my gosh, I can kind of see the dinosaur right now, and well, it's definitely a dinosaur.
Now that I have the frilled dragon, I'm gonna find out if dinosaurs are actually good pets by doing stuff like feeding it, taking it outside, and even more. But first, let's get this guy in the enclosure. Now, this may not look like a dinosaur just yet, but that's because its thing on its neck only comes out on special occasions. But trust me, I will be showing you exactly what it looks like later in the video.
Okay, well, the dinosaur is in its enclosure right now, and honestly, I'm still scared to get within a 5-foot radius of this thing. Like, I have no idea if this is as ferocious as those videos made it out to be, but I guess we're gonna find out.
For now, I already know this guy is very hungry and thirsty from spending a day in that shipping container, and as you can see, his water bowl is already messed up because he was like jumping around and pooping in there like I thought he would. So to give him a drink of water, I turned my water pump on a very low setting, which made little drops of water fall above the dinosaur. Immediately, he started to stick out his tongue and take little sips of it, which is actually pretty cool to watch. Then he just started to bask in it like he was taking a shower. Dang, maybe this guy isn't as ferocious as I thought. He actually looks pretty chill right now. I got a bag of some pretty big crickets.
Bruh, what are these guys all running around in here for? It's not like you guys gonna escape. They're just jumping around. Are you guys stupid?
And literally immediately after I put a bunch of them in, the dinosaur started to go crazy, as you can see, jumping all around the enclosure to get a nice juicy meal. And to show you just how cool it is when the frilled dragon hunts, I hired a professional nature documentary narrator to tell you what's going on. Look at this.
In this small, recreated prehistoric world, a cricket enjoys a quiet meal of moss. But nearby, the frilled dragon, a creature with roots deep in ancient history, has spotted the movement. Suddenly, the dragon's head snaps towards the cricket. In an instant, it leaps forward, jaws closing around the cricket with precision. The cricket's meal is cut short, now being completely devoured by one of nature's best hunters.
Now, as you can see, that was very cool, and the dinosaur is a very good hunter. So to rank how good of a pet this dinosaur is, I'm gonna rank a bunch of different factors. And because it was super cool watching this guy drink and eat, I'm gonna give Care a 9 out of 10. Yeah, 9 out of 10. That's a pretty good score. Good job, bro.
But another important factor that goes into a pet being good is how friendly it is and whether or not it lets you handle it. Now, dogs are the perfect example of this. You know, they're super fluffy and nice, and they pretty much never bite you. Aww. But frilled dragons, on the other hand, yeah, I mean, based off the videos I've seen, they're not friendly at all.
All right, this is the moment of truth. I'm gonna figure out if this guy's gonna let me hold him. And to make sure I don't get bit, I've got some hand protection, as you can see. I'm just gonna go start by trying to pet him. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're petting him, and it seems like he's chill with that. I'm just gonna be very gentle.
Oh,
Woo! Okay, I got very scared there for a second, but...
So yeah, I was too scared to pick him up with my hand, so I just picked up the log he was sitting on.
There you go. Good boy, good boy. Okay, we're doing it. Okay, so we're just gonna start by putting him on the kitchen table. Let's see. Stay right there. And there we go. Look at him. When he's out of his cage, he's doing good. He's just sitting there. Dang, wait, he's actually being a good boy. And the craziest thing is you see the frill on his neck. It hasn't even come out yet. So usually they put the frill out on their neck when they're super angry. But this guy, he hasn't even put it out once. He's like super chill with me. So he's just letting me pet him. He's a good boy, bro.
And since the dinosaur was doing so good just chilling inside, I decided I would try and bring him outside to let him explore the world.
And I'm outside with the frilled dragon. Look at this. He's just basking in the sun. This is awesome. It's actually pretty cool. He's like blending in with the log. I'm pretty sure he does that to avoid any birds of prey. Because normally in the wild, they're like scared of birds attacking them. But right now, he's just blending in with the log. He's not even scared at all. And like I said, I was going to show the frilled dragon to the chicken. So I don't want him to get too stressed out, but I'm just going to kind of let him see the chickens. You see them over there? Yeah, you see the chickens? Aren't they so cool? Oh, they look pretty scared. And oh, okay, they're just running away. Yeah, I think they're scared of him. Okay, I'm just going to bring him back inside.
That actually went very well, and the dinosaur didn't even get mad at me once. But to be fair, I was too scared to hold him, so because of that, I'm giving friendliness a 7 out of 10. And now for the final thing that determines how good a pet is to see the reaction of my mom. So yeah, I'm gonna show it to my mom.
Have you seen my new pet?
No.
Alright, so the lizard is in this giant enclosure right here. Do you see it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's basically right there. And, or do you know what kind of lizard it is though?
It looks like a little dinosaur.
A dinosaur, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I got it. It looks like a dinosaur. And guess how much it costs?
I don't know.
It cost $800.
No, it did not.
It cost $800.
That's not even funny.
Well, it did. But this
That's
is the new.
crazy.
This is the new addition to the family. All right.
What's his name?
Doesn't have a name.
No, Mr.
Alright.
Prehistoric.
You wanna name him Mr. Prehistoric?
Prehistoric.
That's a stupid name. So what do you rate it out of 10?
You're pretty cool, Prehistoric. 10.
10 out of 10?
10 out of 10.
That can afford it, which is nobody, because who's gonna spend $800 on a lizard? Anyways, I know I said that the dinosaur would be showing his neck frill a lot in this video, which he hasn't yet. So to try and make him do it, I got a scary picture on my phone and showed it to him. And he didn't really care. So I tried getting another picture of a bird predator this time, which yeah, he didn't care about that either. So sorry guys, I lied. Mr. Prehistoric is not going to show his